2021. This is a regular joint meeting of the City Council and Indio Water Authority. Ms. Sanchez, may we please have roll call?
Councilmember Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Councilmember Commissioner Ramos Amit,
Present.
Councilmember Commissioner Ortiz,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice President Berman,
Present.
and Mayor President Holmes.
Present. Item number 2, do we have someone in the queue for the invocation?
We have Pastor Conant from Destiny Church, I believe. Nate. Yes, he is on Zoom.
Okay, for those that are interested in participating, please do. If not, that is your discretion. And then after, Mayor Pro Tem, if you can do the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be terrific.
Thank you for this opportunity. Heavenly Father, we offer our prayers on behalf of the City of Festivals, the City of Indio today. We especially need your guidance as we navigate uncertain times in our city. We pray for your guidance and ask that you help us remain as one, united by our common values. Fill each of these incredible leaders with your wisdom and love for each other. Heavenly Father, help us to remember the words of the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 8, verse 1, where he says, knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. We want to build up people in our city. We want to build up our city. We do not seek arrogance and pride. Rather, we want to seek your will and your love for each other. Help each of these amazing leaders to have love one for another as they make decisions that affect so many. We ask that you fill this city with peace and prosperity. We pray for unity in our values, in our valley, that in despite of our differences, we'd be willing to stand strong together and live out our days with grace and love. We also ask that no weapon formed against us will prosper and that you would thwart the attacks of the enemy that are hurled our way. Let integrity and honesty guide every decision as we seek your divine help. We pray that every decision be made with discernment, wisdom, and fairness. Help each of us, Heavenly Father, to seek justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly. We ask you to heal our land and help us be a part of the process. We pray and ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
If you join me by placing your right hand over your heart and saluting our flag, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you.
Okay, City Attorney, are there any reports on closed session?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City Council and the successor agency met in closed sessions for the items listed therein, and there's no reportable action.
Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to go into presentations and we're going to change things up just a little bit. And I'd like to start the first presentation with Martha's Village and Kitchen. Is that representative here for Martha's Village and Kitchen?
Soon, maybe?
Oh, and there's Gabriel. Well, is there someone on Zoom or? Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I was muted for a minute.
All right.
If I could be given access to share my screen, please.
Yes, I believe you can do that from your desktop.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. I want to start by saying hello, and on behalf of Martha's Village and Kitchen, I would like to thank the City of Indio and its representatives for your continuous support to our mission of helping our neighbors in need. With the City of Indio's CDBG COVID-19 emergency funds, Martha's was able to service a total of 56 unduplicated clients, of which 75 were adults over the age of 18 and 25 were children ages 0 through 17. 59 were males and 41 were females. But the most important one is 50 out of these 56 clients that we served, 39 clients exited the program, with 87 going to permanent housing, and 17 are still currently shelter at our program. With these funds, Martha's was also able to provide COVID resources that included PPE, rapid testing, and RN and LVN accessibility for all clients served, all which were very essential resources, especially during this pandemic. We also were able to provide additional supportive programs to help during the pandemic. A vaccine clinic event was held for all clients in partnership with the Riverside County. Another essential program was our tutoring program for the children who live in an emergency shelter. The program provided educational support for children, allowing them to continue their studies with support to ensure that they didn't fall behind. In addition to the added resources and programs, Martha still continued to provide our ongoing services that also include our emergency shelter. Our emergency shelter, we are able to provide shelter for families with children and single adults. This service is essential, especially during the stay-at-home orders. In our housing program, we see on an annual basis over 500 clients, of which historically between 80 to 87% actually leave our shelter to permanent housing. And here you can see some of our families and our children. We also have recuperative care services. This program is by far a big need in the entire county. Through this program, we're able to service clients who've been discharged from the hospital but still need more time to recover from their illnesses or injuries. Clients in recuperative care have access to a licensed RN and LVN to provide them with educational support about their conditions and how to address their conditions and how to navigate the health system, which we all know could be challenging, especially with insurances and doctors. And this is what our recuperative care rooms look like. We also have employment and educational programs. During our employment program, we provide employment readiness skills to clients. This gives clients an edge when returning back into the workforce. Many things have changed on the work field. Having a program that gives clients the basic computer training skills or mock interview workshops or how to build a resume can be the difference between getting the job or not. Staff works one-on-one with the clients on developing their skills in hopes that they'll become employed and then provide generate income for their families and then stabilize the household. Here you see that during the COVID restrictions, there was one-on-one, but we did have face shields, face masks, plexiglass, and everything was sanitized. And instead of doing group projects and workshops, we did one-on-one. We also have our food services program. During COVID, we see a huge increase for demand for food. So we had to change the way we did things. We have a cafeterias where we had to do to-go boxes, and this is some of the examples of what those look like. Not because COVID happened. I know a lot of entities closed and a lot of services were not open to the community, but Martha's, in the contrary, just saw a huge increase for more services. And our food services also provides our meals for our clients and for our Child Development Center. And here's our Child Development Center. We all know that childcare is a huge need in the county of Riverside. And especially here in our community, we are very lucky to have a fully licensed child development center that did not close a single day during COVID. We actually were able to provide services for essential workers in addition to our normal children. And of course, we had to implement guidelines to ensure that everyone's was safe, especially our kiddos. Here you see them wearing face masks. Children from 2 and up have to wear face masks, and that is very challenging if you have a 2-year-old to try to have them keep a face mask during the day, but staff did a great job. We're very lucky to still remain open and be one of the few centers that actually continue to provide these services in the community. I previously did discuss the tutoring center, but to me is one of the programs that I'm so proud of, because a lot of the children's were asked to stay at home. Of course, the schools were closed. All children were asked to stay at home. And when you are facing homelessness and your parents are trying to stabilize a household and get a job and get a house, how much time is left to then help the kids with their schoolwork? Having this program was really important for us because we didn't want our children, because of their current housing situation, to suffer even more on their studies. And we had great feedback from the children, from the parents, and we were in constant contact with the schools and the teachers with assessments. And this was a great program that Martha's was happy to add and continue to add, since we now see that it is a huge need in children's education. Those were the programs that we are ongoing that we added. And of course, if the City of Indio award for 21-22 would allow us to continue to provide these services free of cost to our clients and our community members. And I'm not sure if anybody has any questions for me. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Council, any questions or comments? Thank you very, very much for your presentation.
I just wanted to say thank you for all of the hard work that went in, especially during this past year when all these services were extremely needed. And I did see the new recuperative care services, and that's such an amazing thing for our community. Really builds the space for people who can't afford that specialized care to still be able to get that needed care outside of the hospital once they're released. So I know that's changing, so many lives out here, and all of your other services as well. So just thank you so much, and yeah, keep up the great work. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I want to piggyback on some of the comments. This was a real brief presentation. I don't think we really got the full perspective of what Martha's really does. And if you have the time permitted during the pandemic to visit with Martha's and see what the folks over there are actually doing, I mean, I wish we could do more. From the education room, recuperative care. I mean, those are 9 beds in our community where folks have no place to go. They go to the street. And Martha's Village and Kitchen takes them in. And that's great. And the education and career room, I mean, access to internet and computers, that's big. I mean, you can't, in some instances, fill out a job application without internet access. So these are big helps in our community. And last but not least, the child care program. We all know how much childcare costs in today's day. It's very expensive for little ones. Mind you, during the pandemic, when we have essential workers who have to double down on their duties, especially when we have traveling medical personnel who have children who may need help, a child care. So we appreciate the efforts of Martha's Village and Kitchen. And if we look at this whole thing from the totality of the circumstances, we're very fortunate in our community to have these organizations aiding us in these efforts. So if you have a chance to really figure out what Martha's is doing down there, go down there. You would probably help. I've donated personal things, medical appliances. They have a pantry where you could donate food, non-perishable food items. Please help them, please donate, because they're doing things sometimes that we don't see to help our community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Absolutely. Councilmember Ramos Amit, I can't see you, so if you have any comments, please jump in.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Absolutely, Mayor Pro Tem, and their facilities have just been improved just significantly, as has the level and number of services that they provide to our community. So we thank you very, very much. There's a lot of need out there, and you're keeping our kids and our families together and really trying to give them life skills to continue their life. Okay, so the next presentation is actually going to be a lot of fun because I see Mr. Fajardo and Mr. Lawson here and Sean and Mary and whoever else is affiliated with Indio High School and Shadow Hills. Come on, Mayor Pro Tem, we have a presentation to give.
What side do I stand on?
Hi.
Stand in the middle, right? Let them go on both sides. That way you're safe. Yeah. You taking pictures?
Oh. Okay. Doing.
Our captain decided to stay at practice today, so, you know, because they really want to win it the sixth time over, so.
And Mr. Lawson, you guys, I need a response here.
Well, I have with me Esteban Maldonado, one of my wide receivers and quarterbacks. Of course, he had an injury last week, so we're holding tight so he can be in the game. We're being very, very careful because he wants to be there this Friday night. So he's with us tonight representing the team while they're all out of practice at the moment.
It's going to be a great night. It's going to be a very, very exciting night. I think we can't wait. I have a couple of certificates for you, but first of all, tell us about this. Tell the audience what the Mayor's Cup is all about in the city of Indio.
If I may, and Mr. Lawson can chip in, this is the 5th annual Mayor's Cup. And so when this came up as an opportunity, working alongside the city of Indio with our community members, and certainly with Mr. Lawson as principal of Indio High School and me at Shadow, we decided what a great opportunity between our athletic directors and our football coaches at the time to do something big for our community. You know, I'm a huge football fan, went to USC, was there as a Trojan, although I didn't play football, unfortunately. However, was a big fan. And as a result of just knowing how great of an opportunity it is for our community to provide these college level feel, right? This concept of having a Mayor's Cup in a city like ours and bringing that spirit and that community feel and vibe is what our city does need. And when we say we're all in, we're all in. So we really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Principal Lawson.
Let me go one step further back that not everybody may know. 6 years ago, before this happened, I had just been named principal. And one of the things that we were looking at on the city council at the time, Glenn Miller, council member, I believe you were mayor that particular year. And we got a phone call, said, I have this great idea that I know both of you have been talking about. Let's get together and talk. And we had this wonderful meeting with you. I believe, Jim, I think you were there. There were some people from the youth advisory. And the idea was because this is the first city in the desert, in all of the districts, to have 2 comprehensive high schools in the same city. And it was like, you know, the median age in Indio is much younger. We have a lot of young families. What can we do as a partnership to really build on that and do something for our families? And that was really where the birth of this came. So thank you.
Yes.
Because he had brought to us some ideas and we were all bantering back and forth with all those, and that's where that really was birthed. So thank you. And that's how it came about. And as such, our goal has been to focus on Indio itself as a young community because the median age of our family. And we really wanted to do something that would bring all the families together. Amen. And as a graduate of Indio High School,
Woo-hoo.
both of us, class of 91.
Absolutely.
It takes a Roger to run Shadow Hills High School.
Oh.
Not for the record, by the way.
It's on the record already.
To run the city. They're only 11 years old, so it's a matter of time.
Just got to keep working at it.
That's right.
Well, this is very exciting. And I'm actually going to turn this over to our Mayor Pro Tem before I hand you the certificates.
I swear I'll be short. First of all, congratulations on the first day of school today. You know what? I can't say how much we appreciate you all, what our educators do in our city. Shadow Hills and Indio are at the top, not only athletically, but academically. And that's what's really important is the academics, but to see the community come out, our principals, Our alumni come out to this and support this. And not only football, we have some cross country going on. We have other sports going on. And so this is a great event. I'm looking forward to it. COVID stopped us from having this last year, but we're back at it, and let's go Indio. Class of 98. I didn't say what team. I just said, let's go Indio. I said, let's go.
And we also have something for you as well, and all the folks here, we have some commemorative tickets. So following your presentation, we certainly have Ms. Fernandez here that will be providing you with some tickets here in addition to parking passes for those of you that can make it.
How can we miss something
Right?
like this, right?
Yeah.
And we wouldn't miss it for the world. So the first certificate is really a certificate of recognition, Principal Fajardo.
Thank you.
At
Thank you.
Shadow Hills High School for all the effort, time, love, and everything you put in to making Shadow Hills High School the phenomenal high school that it is.
Thank you.
And for pulling all this together. And Mr. Principal Derek Lawson, thank you from the city of Indio for the years you've spent as a Raja, for the heart, for the soul, for everything you do for our community through these kids. Much appreciated.
Yes. Speak on behalf of Mr. Lawson, I'm sure Julio agree, but it's not us, it's our team that makes us so special. It's our parent community, it's the community members of yourselves. I was fortunate enough to have an interview today with SROs and IPD and Bank Tron, and it's all of us coming together to provide the opportunities for our families, to have the resources available to make this high school experience the very best for all of our kids in the city of Indio. Because we realize how important education is, and we want to provide the best education experience for all of our kids in Indio for public school. And so we realize that doing that only helps the city to attract rooftops, to attract more business, and to provide more opportunities for our kids. So I want to thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate every single one. Thank you.
We also, typically at the game, we have something very special. We give, aside from the ticket, the two of us have commemorative coins with both teams on both sides. And after the game, you can have the score put on the sides of the appropriate side of the commemorative coin. And representing both teams tonight, Esteban Maldonado, our wide receiver quarterback, has a coin for each council member and our city manager, Mr. Montgomery.
Yes.
We have one, and the reason we're bringing him tonight, and they're going to be plastic, is the two of us want to stress to everyone that's watching the broadcast, the live broadcast streaming, we want to keep everyone safe. When you come to the game, we want everyone to be safe. So we're giving them tonight instead because they're wrapped. Because we want to stress how important it is right now that we're pushing for everyone to be safe, be vaccinated, we want you to be healthy. So we brought those tonight instead.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, they're not gold bullion, but
Okay,
We can hand these out to everyone.
absolutely.
Do we have the t-shirts this year too?
The t-shirts are being worked on, sir.
The original t-shirt right there.
That's the OG, sir.
Done by
I
the-
like that.
And just to be fair, I have the Amistad mask on. And all three high schools there.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure's all mine.
There you go.
The score's already on the screen.
Is it?
Awesome. Thank you. This one's for- Thanks, Derek.
This is awesome. Thank you, everyone.
You gotta get a better score.
Okay.
All right, guys. Rod Mansoff. I'm telling you. There we go. Deal, right? Karen, you don't want to be in the picture?
Ms. Hernandez, yes, our assistant principal extraordinaire. She's new to the position, but oh boy, what a wonderful asset. Thank you.
We're smiling, we're smiling.
I know. Thank you.
All right.
Indio Food Park, pick up a night stop.
Oh.
Russia time. I get it. Okay, well, that was a lot of fun. Everybody turn out. It's Friday night. Game starts at 7 o'clock. Everybody needs to come, have a lot of fun. And don't forget to buy from Indio Food Park, the Raja dog or the Knight's dog. We have a couple more days and winner gets a little extra dollars to spend at the athletic club. So there you go. Next presentation is of the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. Two organizations that really serve Indio at the highest level. Look forward to hearing from CBRM.
Okay, we have a representative on Zoom.
Great.
Share. Good evening, Madam Mayor and the rest of the City Council. I just want to say thank you very much for allowing us to be here. My name is Scott Wolf. I'm the Development Director of the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for the City of Indio for all their support over the years. It's been wonderful working with you folks. And it's just such an absolute privilege to be a part of such a great city. And as you know, the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission has been a part of the City of Indio since 1971, serving the valley's homeless. Next slide. Just a little recap of what we do and who we are. You know, of course, the Rescue Mission has been serving those in need for many, many years. The way that we do things now currently, of course, is our emergency annex shelter, which has a capacity of 75 people. And we are full at this time. We have our men's and women's long-term programs, Gateway and New Life, both secular and faith-based programs. Those are currently at capacity. We have rebuilt our programs up into capacity since COVID started. We're finally starting to get right up into full capacity. And of course, we have our family shelter with our moms and our kids in the programs. And what's a real pleasure to share this evening with the folks at the City of Indio is the fact that our outreach is now full-time. We have a full-time outreach team that goes into all 9 cities in the Valley. We have a truck, and we're getting ready to mobilize mobile showers as well. And it's just been a really, really exciting time, even with everything that's been happening the last 18 months. It's just a really exciting time for the rescue mission. And we're just so grateful for the community support. And I just wanted to just pop in and say thank you. But now I'd like to turn this over to Kimberly McKinney, our grants administrator, and she's going to present you with the rest of our presentation. So thank you.
Hello, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Kimberly McKinney, and I'm the grants manager here now at the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. So I wanted to just go through some of the items that Jesus had asked me to present. We really appreciate the fact that the city of Indio supports us so grandly. This year, with COVID, we have been able to rethink how we do things around here. So we redesigned our pantry because we found that at the start of the pandemic, that our pantry space was fine for everyday operations. But when we were getting pallets of supplies from the county, we needed to, we weren't prepared for that. So during this time, when everybody was sheltering in place, we redesigned the pantry, and now we're really prepared for an emergency. We do food boxes all the way through the pandemic, every other week. Plus, if any of the agencies or families or anybody calls the mission and says that I need a food box for X, Y, or Z family, we will, in 24 hours, we'll be able to provide them with a basket, a food box. We still serve daily meals all the way through the pandemic. 300 residents here sheltered in place for the whole 9 months. I mean, then we opened up a little bit, but during that time while we were sheltering in place, we were also handing lunch boxes out through the back window of our kitchen facility because we couldn't have the congregant setting have outsiders in, which we usually would do. So the daily meals, over 1,000 meals a day, and our kitchen staff work tirelessly because, you know, our kitchen staff usually has probably 50 volunteers during the week in the kitchen, slicing, dicing, helping serve, stocking things. And we did not have volunteers this whole time. So our staff really outperformed themselves during the COVID pandemic. And as Scott said, our outreach program is really going to be something. I think that you guys, well, the cities are in the whole Coachella Valley are going to realize that we're going to be able to, we have a product that nobody else has. We were funded with 2 shower trailers. Each shower trailer will be on wheels and it will be taken to different destinations. We're working from from Banning to Indio and Indio to Blythe. And that's 5 days a week now. So this is a full-blown program. Before we would go out locally 3 days a week and just for a few hours. We've got 2 full-time teams that are going to be going out, and then we also will be coordinating the command centers around the Coachella Valley with various quality of life officers and city managers to bring the trailer in, bring some testing facilities in, bring some mental health and providers in to sort of set up a command post. The shower trailers have a benefit for the homeless, not only, you know, because you want to be clean, but they spend more time with the outreach workers. They have to take a shower, then they have a towel and products that they use, shower products. They come out, they get fresh clothes and underwear, and shoes and socks. And it really gives us a chance to engage with the homeless. And we have homeless men and women. Our trucks are set up with containers on each side of them. So if you can imagine you're homeless and you're a female, you go to one side of the truck. And if you're a male, you go to the other side of the truck. And the truck lids are opened up and all of the products that are there. We also are tracking individuals. Our outreach is doing something else. We're also tracking by GPS encampments so that we know where Joe is. Joe is at Martha's Village on this day, but then he's down in Palm Springs on another day, we find him. So each time somebody receives a service from us or a food bag or a toothbrush even, you know, we track their names and their numbers. So we're really sort of proud about that. Housing, we housed over 150 individuals last year that came through our program. Because of the housing for the county, we have to do CES referrals. So that's another 58 individuals referrals that came to us from other agencies or from the county that we were able to house. Because we use the housing first model. So if, you know, it's off the street into a house, but usually it's off the street into the mission and then into a house. So this year we're going to have landlord incentives because we have the clients, they're really ready to go, but we don't have any housing. It's really hard to talk landlords into renting to somebody that might have a bad record, but we're trying to overcome those. So we really do need more housing. And if anybody at the city has somebody that would like to rent to the mission, we would like some transitional houses. We lost 5 this year during COVID. We had 10 transitional houses, like 5 for men, 5 for women, and they had 5 bedrooms in each. So we were able, the clients that weren't quite ready to leave the mission and move on, had a chance to stay there for 2 years, working, paying rent, contributing to society, but, you know, still having our CVR arms wrapped around them. with a housing manager, and they were sober living houses. So as you know, the housing prices went up and we had 5 of them sold underneath us. So we're looking for some more transitional houses. The pandemic, we've done some pretty creative things, so I'm pretty proud of this. And we set up temperature stations at every door. So if you came into our lobby, we could check your temperature before you came in through another door into our administration. If you were coming in from the outside into our program area, the same thing. We had a temperature. So you were stopped right at the door, your temperature was taken. If it was high, we had a protocol set up to take you for testing. And then if you were positive, you were put in a hotel. And we just didn't put people in hotels. We actually put them in hotels with our services. We brought them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and anything else that they needed. But while we had this in place, we didn't have one of our 270 plus individuals that sheltered in place with us for 9 months test positive. So I know that's sort of a shock because that's not what the news says, but we were COVID-free in our homeless population this whole time. So, and maybe it's because we did the temperatures, we did the sanitation, we washed everything, we did testing, and we sheltered in place. The city, so somehow, I can't go to the next slide.
We'll move it for you, Kimberly.
Thank you. So we have purchased with the City of Indio's funds 80 bunk beds. And these are actually the bunk beds that go in our family house because the mom and children sleep on the lower bunk and the top bunk. But it's the same concept for our bunk beds in our program area and also in the annex. We felt that we needed to have this. The mattresses are contained and needed to be wiped off with disinfectant once a day at least. Well, we were taking them, they were tearing because it was a chain link base. And so the mattresses were tearing because we had to wash them so often. So this provided flat surface, easy to wipe, easy to clean, didn't destroy the mattresses, and just gave us an opportunity to change the logistics of where the beds were so we could have them 6 feet apart. Gave us a lot of movement. So this was just an amazingly well thought out gift that you gave to the mission. So the next slide. So we had 80 beds, 160 mattresses, and the beds went into the men's, the women's program, and you saw some of the for the family house. So it was a way that we kept our population here safe during COVID. And we're back on restrictions again. We're wearing masks. We are sanitizing 3 times a day in our offices and around the campus. The men and women that are in our programs or the families, we didn't allow them to take buses. Well, buses were actually shut down. So our staff actually drove the men, women, or families to their appointments, to their jobs, to their mental health programs if we couldn't help them here on our campus. And and then we would pick them up. We didn't let them be out in the area without safety precautions. So I think that that's another one thing that kept our population safe, was that our staff took the time and effort to set up the routes, get people to their jobs, and then go pick them up and bring them home. So we've been a pretty tight-knit family for the last year, but that's okay. Next slide, please. So the last year, 2021, was the bed project that CDBG, City of Indio, funded. This year is a food service program for our congregate meals. So one of the things that happened with the pandemic, I mean, we felt this on a personal level, but on a business level, it was a little different. We actually had shortages in disinfectant, food. The food that we received from some agencies was old, emergency food. We had to go out and actually buy it. And our suppliers had things on back order because they couldn't get it, because everybody was almost like hoarding food, which we all sort of experienced, I think, at least with toilet paper. So having the extra funds to be able to serve our clients that are here working through our program, or the community that need food, gave us that buying power. So funding for food here at CVRM is also a blessing, and we thank you. I want to just show, this is Sylvia. And Sylvia came to, we first met her 9 years ago. So fixing the homeless problem is more of a long-term issue, and Sylvia is a good example of this. So Sylvia was under a bridge, I believe somewhere near Indio, for 9 years. And every time our outreach saw her, would say, Sylvia, come on back. And Sylvia's like, nah, I'm not ready yet. Well, Sylvia this year finally came back to the mission. And this wasn't her first time. She's tried it before, but this time she was successful. And I'm proud to announce that this week, Sylvia just got, next slide. Sylvia just got her a new apartment. She has a job, and she is, as you can see, really happy. I mean, it takes time with the homeless because they're so broken, but they can be fixed. So, and they can be part of society again. And it's all because the city of Indio supports us, and our neighbors and our donors. So thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions of Coachella Valley Rescue Mission?
I want to thank you for the work you do, with the work that you do in combination with our quality of life team, and also with Martha's Village and Kitchen and Fine Food Bank. You guys are making a difference in the lives of so many people. I want to thank you for the continued services that you do. Scott, you guys are doing great work, and please tell your volunteers and your donors and that the city of Indio and the community as a whole of Coachella Valley appreciates the work that you do on behalf of those in need.
Thank you very much. I will.
Yeah, I just wanted to share the same sentiments. Thank you and your staff and your volunteers so much for that hard work. It's great to hear of how many people you were able to shelter during the pandemic as well, and to see all of the new strides that you're making with your truck and the mobile showers and the expansion of your program. So thank you all so much. And please let us know what help we can give you as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
And Pro Tem?
I also want to thank you for those efforts. I spoke about it earlier, some of the services that these organizations provide for our community. And I go over and visit CV Rescue Mission, not on the days where the cameras are there. I like to go talk to the residents and see what we could do better as a council or a community to really serve these folks. And it was touched on a little bit, but not that much. And I hope we could get a presentation maybe from our quality of life team or our code enforcement on some of the efforts that we do with some of our encampments and some of our folks that we frequently come in contact with. A lot of times in the public, the question is asked and raised, what are you guys doing about the homeless? There's a lot of work behind the scenes going on with the homeless. I could tell you myself, I've contacted our code enforcement, our CV Rescue Mission, Martha's Village and Kitchen, CVAG, CV200, to try to get folks off the street and get them help. Sometimes folks don't understand, or they have mental issues, or they have substance abuse issues, to understand that they need help and they do not belong in the streets, and there is someone who loves them. And for us to see these success stories, this is great, and we're going to keep working hard. I want to thank the council and the city staff for committing to these organizations when the time comes for the allocation of this funding, because it's going to great lengths to really save our community. So thank you. That'd be it, Madam Mayor.
Absolutely. Councilmember Amit, any comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Coachella Valley Rescue Mission has been a part of this community for very, very long and serving the neediest amongst us. I've been involved a little bit with the rescue mission, certainly our quality of life team and the tremendous impact that you've had on the lives of people with mental health issues and with a lot of challenges. So I hope you find some more of those transitional housing. That is very, very important. That is key to the health and safety of the folks that are going through your program. Thank you for what you do in our community, day in and day out, literally tirelessly feeding and really working with the poor and the people that have changed their life or derailed in some form or fashion and making a difference in their lives. Appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
And on that note, I would like to go on to the next presentation item number D by the Coachella Valley History Museum.
Good evening, everyone. Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff, residents, and all the people that support our community. I have a nice little presentation. Oh, good, it worked. Technology always scares me a bit. So first of all, for those of you who are not familiar with me, I am Gloria Franz. I am a native. Sorry, I didn't go to Indio High. I went to CV. Sorry, I'm okay. But I have been born and raised in the Coachella Valley and my heart is here. My heart is in Indio and everything we do, I think, is to make our community better. So the Coachella Valley History Museum, I am a vice president on the board. I've been on the board, God, 8, 9, maybe 10 years now, kind of lost track. It's probably the best kept secret in the Coachella Valley. For those of you that have never been there, I invite you to visit. It is literally down the street on Miles, and it is a phenomenal campus. So hopefully we can start the presentation. Okay. All right, thank you. Oh, it's a good thing I bought a printed copy because I can't read that stuff. So we want to thank the council. We have a very good relationship with the city and the museum could not function without this relationship and the support of our volunteers, our board members, the community at large, and our donors and our visitors. Since 2018, there has been a lot of work done and I'm not going to read them all because I'm not going to be here all night. But I do want to thank the Lions Club, Burtech, Women's Club of Indio, Ophelia Project, and so many people that donate to make the campus more beautiful. Planters, new trash containers. We did relocate the water tower, and those of you that drive by on Miles, you can see this beautiful water tower. That was a huge project, and we couldn't have done that without the city and quite a few private donors as well. We have a beautiful rose garden that has been completely redone in the last few years, thanks to the generosity of the Geisler family, who's a longtime pioneer family here. We have a beautiful exhibit currently up, Mexican folk art. It is our first fully bilingual installation. So we were very, very proud of that. We have been able to put an ADA access ramp. We were able to completely renovate all of our public restrooms. Not only are they beautiful, they are ADA compliant. So we are very happy with that. We acquired a beautiful acquisition of a ceiling artwork that we now display in Majul Auditorium. Thanks to Lowe's in La Quinta and Palm Desert, they came through and helped us do quite a bit of renovation in our kitchen. They gave us new dishwashers, a freezer, you name it, they came in, they painted, they've been a really good partner. As we continue to do things, the museum is 4 acres and it's constantly needing some type of love. So with COVID and the fact that like a lot of places we had to shut down, we decided to do some needed cleaning. So the beautiful 1909 schoolhouse has been completely cleaned inside and out in a new paint job. I do want to thank Maureen Boren for the inside work and guiding everything. Otherwise, things wouldn't get done. Let me see. Our blacksmith shop has also been completely redone. Also private funding, new lighting, and just ways to really show kids what a blacksmith would have done back in the days. So many things to talk about. One of the things we're trying to do is to make the museum not the best kept secret in the Coachella Valley. I want to tell you there has been improvement. When I first joined the board, I would say Coachella Valley Rescue Mission and I would get Coachella Valley History Museum and I would get what museum? Now I get, oh, the museum in Indio. That's it. So it has improved over the years. We have been working with a social media company for the first time ever. So we are getting some professional traction and exposure that helps the museum and the East Valley and the city of Indio. So we're very happy with that. We are in the process of starting a whole new website, which is very, very much needed. So we are continuing to move forward on that. We want to show that the city and our residents that we not only ask the city for help, we also want to provide services to our residents. Not only is sharing the history, but making sure that things have an area where they can create their own memories. So I keep forgetting to click the button. Let's see. One of the big things that we love is our youth programs. And last year we really missed them thanks to COVID, but we are ready to go and start all over again. If none of you have ever been involved in what we call our Junior Historians program, you are missing one of the coolest things in the world. It's the only place the kids learn about local history. So in order to work around COVID, one of our generous donors, Dr. Priscilla Porter and her husband, Chuck, provided the funds to create 5 educational videos that in turn allowed third grade teachers to give these kids a virtual experience of what they would have gotten on campus. So we're very proud about that. We're hoping to get these programs back up and, hopefully this year or the beginning of next year at the latest. We also had a Young at Art program that we do every summer. We didn't do it last year. We did this year. It sold out in a week. And it was mostly grants. The kids didn't really have to pay. We had money donated, and they really, really enjoyed being able to do hands-on things on campus. These are, again, the third grade tours that we were unfortunately unable to do, but are now digital. We normally get between, 1,500 and 3,500 students a year that come through. So we hope these will start again. This is what we want to really encourage people to do. People didn't get to celebrate very much the last couple of years, right? We're kind of on lockdown. So a lot of people want to have celebrations, whether it's weddings or quinceañeras or retirement parties. It's not inexpensive to do these events. So we have beautiful grounds, and we've been able to put together a great package for our residents to be able to make their memories and their history on our campus. And to give you an idea, we had to hire someone to handle this because it's growing so fast. And we really want to continue to encourage people to do this. I mean, my hope would be that someone is making a memory on our campus every week. So if you know anybody that needs to have a party after the last year and a half, we've got really good grounds. The museum has one fundraiser a year. It's El Dia de los Muertos celebration. This will be our 9th year. Last year, we were really scrambling to have some type of fundraiser. So we were able to take it completely virtual. And thanks to the support of the donors, the museum made 95% of what it normally makes on an in-person event, which is what allowed us to continue to function and plan for when we are allowed to reopen. So we hope to see you this year. These are some of our continuous donors and sponsors that just generously support us. What's coming next? We have a beautiful Japanese garden that we have in honor of our Japanese families. It is in dire needs of being upgraded. So we are in the process of getting a bid for construction. We have a plan. We actually had a gentleman out of, he's the leader of the faculty Department of Landscape Architecture for Cal Poly Pomona. And he designed the Huntington Library's Japanese garden, and he's designing ours. So we're hoping to be able to get that going here in the near future. The big thing we're working on, too many. We have one little piece of our land that is still vacant, and we're going to turn it into a beautiful outdoor gardens and railway experience. So I'm happy to report that after a couple of years and a COVID delay, we have entered into a contract to purchase a 1950s railway car, which will be completely renovated to look like a Southern Pacific dining car. And as you all know, the history of the Southern Pacific is the reason the city of Indio exists. We were a stop. So wish us luck, and maybe in a year, this will be here fully ready for everyone to experience what it would have been like to travel back then. Our goal is to hope to do things for kids. So during Christmas, we'd like to pretend to take a ride to the North Pole. And after they get out, Santa's there with snacks, maybe a reindeer or two, maybe some fake snow. I don't know how long that'll last on the ground, but some way to give the kids an experience of doing something different and unique. So wish us luck with the train car. The garden itself, which I kind of went over quickly, is a joint venture with the Indio Water Authority. The idea is to show people what you can do with a drought tolerant garden. And the idea that, you know, especially now with the new water restrictions, this is going to be more important than ever. You can have a beautiful landscape and it doesn't have to take a lot of water. So that's part of the goal with this exhibit, along with teaching people about the history of the railroad. The museum runs on a lot of love and generosity from our community, our city, our board members, and we invite you to join us. We always have room for volunteers. We have room for board members. Anyone with a little passion for history, you will never be bored at the museum. The things that we're looking for going forward, of course, is to finish all those projects and most of all, to continue to do our events so we can have more staff members. We need more people on campus, and that's one of the things that we're really trying to work for. But most of all, I really just wanted to come today and thank the city for their continued partnership. We couldn't do it without you. I mean, it's just not possible. The fact that we want to let you know all the things that we've been working on, all the things that we have coming, and the fact that we want to be an integral part of the revitalization of downtown Indio, which we have all been talking about for a long time, and I'm starting to get really excited about. So hopefully we can, you know, keep that going forward. But I would like to point out a couple of board members that are here. I know there's a few on Zoom, but Maureen Boren is here. She is one of our hardworking board members. Yvonne Wishadell is here. She's a board member. Linda Beal helps us out quite a few times. Of course, my husband, Ruben, who unfortunately does whatever I ask him to do. Poor guy. And so many others. We just can't thank you guys enough. And we're here to answer any questions you might have on any of the projects that we have going on.
Extremely exciting. I can't wait for the Santa's Express, frankly. Is there like an age limit for the kids that go through and get to see Santa? Good.
Nope.
Any comments from the council? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, just thank you, Ms. Franz, for this presentation and all you do in our community and the Historical Museum. If you haven't been to the Historical Museum, please go and see it. I love it. I'm a history guy for the Coachella Valley. I love our history, and you have a lot of stuff there, and I'm looking forward to the train exhibit. I'm a locomotive lover myself, so I'm looking forward to that. And if there's anything we could do in the future, please come back to us, and looking forward to seeing you all there in the near future.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, this is really exciting to me as well. And thank you so much for your work and to the board and everybody involved. The youth programs, you know, sounds amazing. That's really great to see that was still able to happen during COVID as well. And, you know, thank you for adjusting to all those needs from everybody during this past year. Really excited about the Japanese garden.
Yeah.
Extremely excited about that. So that's going to be great to see. And the outdoor gardens and railway, like that all sounds just great for our residents to have. You know, we don't have too many of those walking outdoor spaces that people can enjoy with that kind of scenery, right?
Exactly.
And I think I've been hearing that a lot from the community, that's what people want to be able to take their family out to spaces like this. So thank you so much, and really excited to see that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Gloria, thank you and the volunteers for all you do, because it's really a volunteer organization that's continued to support our community. But I don't think you take enough credit for what you do, to be honest with you. You continue to push, and you're pretty tough to say no to. No matter what you do, you have a passion and a heart for it, and you rally your troops around it. And so thank you for what you do along with everyone else. But you really are a shining beacon of continued support for so many organizations, including the Women's Club and your professional volunteer, your husband, Ruben. We want to thank him, because no matter what happens, if you're not there, he's there for you.
Exactly.
So thank you for the team effort. So
Thank you.
Team Franz. Gloria, if you could talk a little bit about the archives. I mean, we have, it's just so phenomenal, the archives that we have. I think bar none, the largest set of archives in the entire Coachella Valley.
Yeah, we almost don't talk about that very much, but we need to talk more about the archives.
Yeah.
So the museum, the society started in 1965, and they've been accumulating items, right, which is the archives, whether it's documents, images, farm equipment, you name it. So we have an entire, I don't even know how many square feet, the building is full of little bits of our history. And what we like is we'll get calls from like some of the universities that say, hey, we heard you had an archive. Can I come in and research, I don't know, Jackie Cochran or, on Dr. Carrion, or all these people that, have meant so much to the Coachella Valley. And we have tons of information that is there and available for the community to come in and use for research purposes. But one of the things we want to do, when we have enough time, is get a grant to actually digitize as much of that information as possible. Because right now it's still the old school, right? When you used to go to the library and have to pull out a book and go through it. We want to get that, but that would be a huge project and it's definitely on the list. But yeah, our archives are available. They're available to the public by appointment. We don't let people in there alone. They're guided by a volunteer or board member to make sure that, of course, the items are taken care of with the respect that they deserve for how old some of these pieces are. But yeah, if anybody's interested in some type of history pieces, Maureen is actually a lot more familiar with the archives than I am. They don't let me in there for fear that I may never come out. But it's definitely there. And we partner with the universities locally. They know that they're there. So the students use them quite a bit. And it's just one of those gems that we have here in the Coachella Valley. And we collect the history for the Coachella Valley, not just Indio or not just the East Valley. And we're the only museum that actually has a working archive. No other museum in the Coachella Valley has that. And we're pretty good at partnering with all the other museums, Sunnylands, La Quinta, Cabot's, there's so many, and we want everyone to visit all of them. They all have something different to offer.
Fantastic. Thank you. It is. It's really phenomenal. And I just want a shout out too. It has such a beautiful outdoor area for anyone looking to do any kind of event, large, medium, small. It's really a wonderful area. It's lit. There's sound systems. There's everything there. It's just really a very, very beautiful environment. And I would just encourage everyone to check into it. If you have any kind of a event, quinceanera, birthday party, wedding, it is a perfect location. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. We couldn't do it without you all. Here's Day of the Dead information if anybody wants it. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Okay, item number 6A, appointment of a representative to the Imperial Irrigation District Energy Consumers Advisory Committee, also known as ECAC. We have identified, so Councilmember Amit was the representative at some point in the not too distant future. Previous city manager Mark then took over that position, and of course Mark has moved on, and we are now I'd like to bring forward to the council Ray Trejo, the assistant general manager for IWA, and think that's the best possible, and would like to have a motion to.
I'll make a motion. I want somebody to sit there with me for 3 hours.
There you go.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and may we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit,
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman,
Aye.
and Mayor Holmes.
Aye. Ray, you're anointed. Thank you very, very much for that's a long meeting. Really appreciate that. Okay. Number 7, report on city council, external, internal boards, commissions, and committee meetings, and report on meetings attended per government code, section 53232.3. Councilmember Amit, do you have any reports to share?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. I met with the Riverside County Board of Supervisors, Manuel Perez for District Number 5, is that it? To discuss the disposition of the fair and the future fair activities. The County of Riverside came out a couple of months ago with an RFP. They're seeking an organization that can operate the fair year-round, not only produce the fair for the 10 days or whatever the period of time ends up being. He asked me specifically to ask of the Indio City Council if there is a desirous month that we would like to have the event, because it looks like it may not be able to continue on February, at least not this first year, just because of the timing of the RFP and the review and the letting of the contract. So number one, he wanted to know if there was a desirable month other than February that we would like to have an event. Of course, I thought of October, which would kick off the festival season in the Valley, which is the same time that the tennis is going to happen this year. And his second question was, if the new operator wanted to improve upon the fairgrounds so that it was more usable year-round to the immediate community, how could they do so? And he wanted to hear input from the city council as to how we felt the grounds could be better utilized. And I mentioned right off the bat, spaces for our athletic associations, because we're in such shortage of fields for all of our athletic associations. But I'm opening this up to the council. If you could get back to me with your comments on how the fairgrounds could be better utilized and what would be an alternative desirous month for the fair to operate if it can't be in February. Besides the Riverside County Fair meeting that I had, I am also the appointee to the Riverside County Animal Shelter in Thousand Palms, the JPA, and Deputy City Manager Scott Trujillo attended on my behalf, where I'm not sure if he attended, but he sent me the notes of this last meeting. And there's several items of interest to share with the community. So I have shared them with our marketing director so that she can post them on social media and on our website about safety of the animals, licensing, how to microchip your animal, and how to report a missing pet. All very important services that are offered through the JPA for our community. Thank you, Mayor. That would conclude my report.
Thank you very, very much. Next, Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, staff and residents, for joining us today. Last week, Councilmember Miller and I met with CVWD in our 2x2 meeting to get an overview of their current projects and projections. We also discussed our proposed water recycling project for local injection, and we're looking to see if we can allocate some of our RAC fees to our local injection project. And the RAC fees are fees that we pay CVWD for water replenishment into the aquifer. And our agreement with CVWD does include payment for, does include that these fees will guarantee us a Indio-specific project for water conservation here. I also wanted to share some of our region's current COVID numbers. Riverside County currently has 529 COVID-19 hospitalizations and a 12.5 positivity rate. So we still need to keep masking up and getting our vaccination rate higher in order to stay healthy and keep our businesses open, and in order to keep people at work. So if you need a vaccine or a COVID test, most CVS and Walgreens locations in the Valley are providing them with no appointment. If you would like to set up an appointment, you can reach for vaccinations, myturn.california.gov. And for the testing, I believe it's curative.com. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of my committees were active. As Councilmember Ortiz said, we did our 2x2 meeting with the Coachella Valley Water District. Not only did we talk about the RAC rates and the possibility of utilizing some of our settlement money to expand on projects, but we also talked about what's happening with the Colorado River and how it's going to affect our valley as a whole. As you, I don't know if you saw, but it's being drought stricken, and a lot of the other states before us, Arizona, Nevada, and Utah, have had their allotments limited to what we can do. California, no, not yet, but it looks like it might possibly come forward where we'll have to start looking at more alternatives to water coming in besides the Colorado River water. So stay tuned for that. The second one is the Sunline Board Transit meeting. I'm the new chairman of the Sunline Board, very honored to do that. The last time it was about 10 years ago. A lot of exciting things going for Sunline. They are having trouble keeping the routes going. They do not have a lot of staff coming back in that are being able to utilize to make sure all the routes. So you might see some of the routes start to be limited here because access to employees is very difficult. Not only do people are not able to qualify for some of the work because of the special training you have to have a bus driver and do the other stuff, but they're really having a hard time getting people to actually even apply. So if you know people that are looking for jobs, Sunline is a very good organization to work for. They do have the route going back to I-10 corridor route, which is actually goes from the campus in Thousand Palms to the campus in San Bernardino, Cal State San Bernardino. That will be continuing here now that campus is open again. And then also they have 8 brand new hydrogen cell buses that will be added to the fleet. 4 that will be smaller buses for utilizing, and 4 more that are now another new generation of buses. For those of you that don't know, Sunline is the leader in hydrogen cell fuel buses throughout the United States and actually part of the world. and they have a new system in place there that is training new mechanics and people that need to learn about the hydrogen cell fuel engines and how it works to be able to be trained here in the Coachella Valley so that they can go back across the world, because hydrogen cell is so much more efficient per mile than any other energy. And they're looking at how that can continue to help us, not only in buses, but hopefully eventually in transportation. A couple of exciting things. I think we were all at the Dutch Brothers. I know somebody kind of went through, we got a new coffee connection here, in the city of India. We're blessed to have a lot of Starbucks. We have Dunkin' Donuts. We have Everbloom Coffee. Now we have the brand new Dutch Brothers, and it is being really highly utilized. And if you haven't been there, go ahead and have it. A little sweet for me, but what a addition to the Coachella Valley and the city of Indio. Fiesta Kia broke ground. If you haven't seen it, it's the new Kia dealership. Fiesta Ford, Paul Thiel and his family are the owners of it. We had a golden shovel. We opened it up. It'll hopefully be open, but October of next year?
Right.
October of next year is going to create over 125 jobs. They estimate $60 million of taxable revenue to the city of Indio. Another great addition to our auto mall dealership there, and we're looking forward to that opening up. And then also we had the Vallejo cycling team that came down there. They are firefighters from all over the United States who are pedaling from Santa Monica area to New York City to bring awareness of cancer and what it means to so many of those firefighters because of what they breathe in during their issues of fighting fires and other opportunities that they have to be in connection with toxins. And there's a high rate of cancer among firefighters. The city of Indio a few years back went ahead and did yearly screenings. We pay for it as part of our deal, but there's so many other fire departments that do not do that for their agencies. And so they're bringing awareness to that and raising funds. And they came through the city of Indio and stayed here. And it was an honor to meet them. In the middle of the desert, driving is one thing. Riding a bicycle 125 miles is something else in that heat. And they were dedicated to making sure that they made it to New York so as many people as possible could understand that. So my hat's off to them. And then the very last thing is the blood drive. 9 Cities Challenge. We are having the blood drive. There is going to be another one at JFK Hospital on Saturday. So if anybody's interested in donating blood and continuing to support not only the efforts, but also put Indio at the top, there's an opportunity to donate blood this Saturday at JFK Hospital. And that's it, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. All of my boards and commissions were dark since our last meeting. However, I did attend a couple of events. I was also at the blood drive, 9 Cities blood drive. I had to skate out, so I was unable to give any of my Lions blood that day, but I will be back to donate. And I also attended an event at Find Food Bank. It was California Volunteers Day. There was a representative from the governor's office. Supervisor Perez was also in attendance, and other elected officials from the Valley. And it was a good day to summon some help and assistance from our community to come and do some volunteer work at Find Food Bank. That's another organization that's doing great work in our community. And I also had the opportunity to see where some of our funding is going. And obviously, we're in a hot patch right now, and they have this new refrigerator walk-in. It's a giant refrigerator. I don't know how cold it is in there, but I tell you, I walked in and all my inflammation was gone in seconds. So they're doing some great work over there. And if you have time to volunteer, please Find Food Bank. They need assistance. They're feeding a lot of folks as well. They do a lot of distribution sites. And also, if you just need food, you could go pick it up there. And so I want to thank them if they're watching as well. And also, before I conclude, I know Ms. Franz introduced Ms. Maureen Baran in attendance. She was also our senior inspirational recipient that I had the great honor to present her award on behalf of the city of Indio and Supervisor Perez. So congratulations on that. Thank you for your hard work. That concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Okay, so Most of my commissions were dark, but there are several things going on, most notably the Kia groundbreaking. Very excited. The Thiel family has run very successful auto dealerships in the Coachella Valley. We're very happy that he has a couple of them here in Indio, and Kia is not only going to bring a lot of jobs and revenue to the city of Indio, but another place for us to buy a really cool vehicle. The discussion becomes, do you get the Stinger or do you get the SUV? So you have a few months to figure that out, but that will be coming to town. Also, along with the city manager, attended the IID meeting. This is the first sort of commission meeting that really has come together to look at how we can, as the cities that are served by IID, really move forward in our need for upgraded power systems. And really that relationship really needs to be strengthened and built. And as I said, this was the first meeting where that happened. Blood drive, went to the blood drive. Again, there is a huge shortage. I think due to COVID, the shortage that usually occurs in the summer has just been amplified. And so we would ask everyone, if you can't make JFK on Saturday, just livestream.org and go ahead and give blood. Be sure to mention Indio though. And I think what's really important is that there are a lot of folks out there that really need it. Let's see. A couple of other things going on in the city is just for people to check, we have a turf conversion program with the Indio Water Authority. We have minor house repair, check indio.org. If you have, and are in need of some repairs to your home, you can fill out that application. Also, this is the applications for community grant sponsorship opportunity. That's also at indio.org. This is for nonprofit organizations, and there are some specific requirements, but we invite any nonprofit to go ahead and fill out an application. I wanted to kind of give a kudos, please, to Public Works. They are just really the quiet heroes in our community. They wrapped up several capital improvement projects really to improve safety and mobility. So there's a two-way left turn lane. There's some striped bike lanes. We need everything we have and more, and I know more are coming. Thank you very much for that. It helps that our Public Works Director is a avid bicyclist. Pedestrian mid-block crossing, just 21 pedestrian countdown signals throughout Indio. Freshly paved asphalt between Jefferson and Madison, and buffered bike lanes in both directions. So constantly working. Thank you, Public Works, for all you do to keep our city functional and sparkling. We all, as a council, voted to give the Coachella Valley Community Trust, CVCT, some funds. And I just wanted to let you know where those funds are being used. They've just opened the second Kids Club in Indio. It's a collaboration with Desert Recreation at Desert Meadows Apartments. And these are really to keep kids. And it was a challenge during COVID. It continues to be to keep them focused and directed and keep them out of trouble and keep them in an environment that was a positive. They did a backpack giveaway on August 10th. And they are now working with Riverside County Probation on a gang prevention program. So that organization continues to serve the Indio population. And I think the most fun I have ever had, probably, I look forward to this day when I'm mayor, is I got to go with Scott at the Desert Sands Unified School District Superintendent, Scott Bailey. And we went to Dick Oliphant Elementary today for the first day of school. That was about the most fun I could imagine having. Made my whole day. See parents and kids walking to school today. The weather was absolutely perfect. Get into the classes. So many kids were eager. The little kindergarten kids were so cute, trying to figure out where they went. And we went and walked down and into most of the classes, 618 students at Richard Oliphant Elementary. And they are known to teach coding to these young kids. So just really outstanding. All of our schools in Desert Sand Unified School District are really outstanding. And it was just beautiful to see how the principal and the superintendent interacted with these little kids. Very cute. And the superintendent also made mention of a couple of things. Very appreciative of the relationship that he has with the city of Indio. Optimally, the city and the school district needs to work together for the betterment of our students. And he really wanted to make known and make mention of the excellent collaborative relationship he has with our Indio Police Department and the officers throughout his district that really create one-on-one relationships with many of the kids and with the chief and his staff in order to really create an environment that is both protective and nurturing. And mentioned that a couple of times. And I just wanted to say thank you, Chief and staff and PD, for all you do to keep our kids safe and keep them engaged. And that is all I have today for my report. Next, item number 8, City Manager reports and information.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't want to let pass. I learned today that on the 18th of August in 1930, that's 91 years ago, the police department was formed. So happy birthday to the Indio Police Department.
Happy birthday.
We also had the great honor to have Kristen Masters as an intern with us. The mayor I know knows Kristen, and she'd like to just say a few words to talk about her internship and our, well, Kristen, let's go ahead and share a little bit.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, I originally did an internship program with the City of Indio, and I was able to visit some of the departments and get a firsthand look of how each of the departments are each important to a functioning city. I would like to thank the mayor for putting me in contact with the city manager's office, as well as management analyst Bethany and deputy city manager Scott, who helped set this unique experience up for me. I was able to visit the IT department, the marketing department, as well as city clerk's office, and also the India Water Authority and the police department. This was a great learning opportunity for me because I was able to get a better understanding of how my local government and city works to maintain the balance we have. The more opportunities the city creates for young people, like the one created for me, the more the next generation learns about their local government and how also to get involved, since most might not know all the other possibilities that are within their community. So I would encourage the city to create these more opportunities like this, since it was really a great help to me. So thank you.
Thank you for expressing the interest and the desire and taking the initiative to connect with us. Hopefully you'll consider a career in city government. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's very interesting. When I got on council and I got a bird's eye view, I was absolutely fascinating. So
Yeah.
hopefully we see you applying for one of those positions in the not too distant future.
Yeah, thank you again.
Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
And then Mayor, just like to turn the balance of my time to Brooke Berry to introduce the presentation by North Star.
Thank you, City Manager, and good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Brooke Berry. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing for the City of Indio. Thank you all for being here today. We have, I think, what is going to be a very interesting research presentation for you, a little bit of history. For over the last year or so, we have been working on communication and outreach, not only within the city, but also externally, identifying what makes the city so special, and then how we can capitalize on that for better return on investment, not only to our residents, but to the hundreds of thousands of people who visit our city every single year. Ed Barlow is our project manager. He's here from North Star. North Star has worked with over 250 communities across the country. They're really considered an industry leader in community and destination branding. And just a little bit of background for you on them too. Within the last 5 years, 3 of the cities that they've worked with have been recognized with the top award by 3CMA for branding, including Brand of the Year. And Ed is here today to share the results of our months-long research effort with the city to determine Indio's strengths and weaknesses, how to capitalize on them, and how to utilize all that data that we have received. Ed?
Thanks, Brooke. Mayor, Council, good to see you again. Excited to be at this point in our process and share this this update with you. So there we go. Perfect. All right. Well, we are excited to share this with you. It's an update to the process. So we're about halfway through the work on behalf of Indio. Let's see if I can manage a clicker. Perfect. All right. This is North Star's process. Kind of looks like an X, kind of looks like an hourglass perhaps. And so today we're at the neck of that hourglass. So we spent a few months getting to know Indio from the folks that know it best, the folks that live here, but also getting some outside perspectives. So we're going to share all of that with you today, qualitative and quantitative research. And so what we're after with the research is to get at what is distinct and ownable for the place, what makes Indio special. So communities that can go through a research process like this and get to what is distinct are far more effective in communicating. It's a better steward and better use of resources as you communicate with a range of audiences. And we'll get to next steps. We'll cover the bottom half of that hourglass. That's the balance of the process that we will be pursuing over the next, say, three months. So you may agree, you may disagree with the information that's on the screen today. It was the research that is gathered. And so as we get to the neck of that hourglass, we're going to make a strategic recommendation on what is distinct and ownable, what came out of that research. And so when we get there, may not be a revelation, it may not be a surprise. Exactly how we articulate that may be a bit different than you expect, but just managing expectations today is just research, just information, and that strategic recommendation. So no creative elements that folks may associate with the brand. That's part of the balance of the project moving forward. So just some information about the research. By numbers, we've had over 1,300 different unique inputs through the research. We had qualitative information through a site visit and man on the street interviews and stakeholder interviews, online Zooms, online phone conversations. We had lots of inputs through social media. We had the educational website of Authentic Indio where people shared their input. Brooke did a fantastic job. I'm going to stop a minute and brag on her. We rely on her to advocate and publicize this survey. 708 residents. We usually don't hit that mark with communities. And then, of course, we talked about the external. So I've mentioned the different pieces in this internal qualitative data. So the next few slides are those qualitative conversations, not the survey that we had such a great response rate, but those qualitative conversations from our site visit, follow-up calls and Zooms and focus groups and interviews. So what you see on the screen right here is the best descriptors as we ask folks to describe their place here in Indio. They are in order of frequency. These aren't the only things that were mentioned, so you may think something's missing. Perhaps, but these were the most mentioned. And so at the top, historic, city of festivals, authentic, Mexican culture, and heritage. Next, assets. The festivals here, not just the larger events, but all of the festivals that Indio enjoys. Great schools, land for development, the diversity, not just of people and culture, but housing, variety, lower cost of living being mentioned often as well. And as we get to the strategic distinction, it's not just a list of advantages that you may see here. Now, you're not going to build a brand around anything negative, but we don't want to do it in a vacuum. So we gather this input. It may help as you look at what the concerns are from the folks that participated. So the appearance of the place or the perception as less than, job growth a concern, managing our growth and having some negative perceptions. Now, this is what we think outsiders say. So this isn't what they say. This is what we expect them to say when we ask about them. And as I mentioned, we took a look from the outside in, so we can kind of match that up here in a minute. But we think folks talk about our festivals, our culture, that we have some rundown areas, we are more affordable and unsafe. People pointed things to that they wish were here or were priorities or that they have to leave for or what they would like to see. see here. And so you can see marketing and promotion, higher paying jobs, a distinct identity, a vibrant downtown, inclusion, a commitment to development and gathering spots. Great opportunities identified from these conversations, embracing diversity, improving the aesthetics of the place. So you're seeing some consistency and priorities here. Tourism, young professionals, new ideas, the size of the market, the trade area that was discussed earlier today, being the center of the valley. We wanted to know what these folks thought was most important to the identity of the place. Festivals and events, agriculture, and date palms. So now we're getting to the quantitative internal data. That's that survey with such a great response rate, 708 respondents here in Indio participating with that. And so one of our first questions is a very simple question on we call it a brand advocacy score or net promoter score you may be familiar with on a scale of 1 to 10. How likely are you to recommend living, visiting, or conducting business in Indio? Promoters are enthusiastic and vocal. That's a 9 or 10. Passives are on the fence, probably satisfied, but not vocal. And then increasing detractors from 6 to 1. So we're not going to count those passives. The score is the math is that you take the percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors to get that advocacy score, how likely folks are to recommend. And just quickly looking at the living question. So we have over a quarter that rated it a 10 and another 10%, a 9. So at least a third enthusiastic promoters, but just shows you the math and how this question is constructed. We do have a national average to compare this against. So Indio is in blue and the national average in red. And so about equal as recommending as to the national average as a place to live, just behind the national average for visiting, and then a bit behind for conducting business. Now, the conducting business score is usually the lower of the 3 in most communities that we work. So unfortunately, we have more detractors, as does the national average, than promoters in that area. So looking at our 708 folks, the best descriptors for them: City of Festivals, unfulfilled potential, growing, revitalizing Mexican culture and heritage. The best assets: festivals, growth potential, lower cost of living, tourism. And this is what the 708 Think Outsiders say. So over half of people could choose 2 answers: festivals, and then unsafe and rundown. The greatest challenges: homelessness, vacant downtown, rundown areas, perception is unsafe. What's missing here? A vibrant downtown, improved aesthetics, higher end retail and dining. So now we're going to take a look from the outside in, see what consumers and folks have to say outside of Indio. We conducted this in the Los Angeles area, in Phoenix, and in the San Diego area with over 200 respondents. They don't know that this is about Indio as they start this. And so we have some termination questions. So no one under 18 takes this. If they said that they lived in the Coachella Valley or Indio, they were terminated. Most importantly here, I want to point out that we ask folks how familiar they are with a few places. We'll show you that in a minute. But as far as familiarity with Indio, we had 910 folks that were not familiar at all. So they were terminated. So that's a very high termination rate for us. And so we've mentioned the markets and just wanted to point out that as a lot of us haven't traveled in the last couple years, we do ask a question if you visited in the last 3. We had 4 folks that said they had, but had they ever visited, it's 112 of these respondents. So just about half, and 64 have attended events here in Indio. So again, we ask about familiarity, and just to show you the comparison here, That red bar is what we terminated. So we had to go to over 1,000 folks to get our 222. So we terminated 80% based on this question. So everything that you see now will be from that 20% that was at least somewhat familiar. So there is no red mark or bar underneath Indio because those folks were terminated. So you can see that people are most familiar, probably no surprise, with Palm Springs and the least with the city of Coachella. We wanted people to tell us what first comes to mind with these communities. Again, they don't know this is yet about Indio. And so across the board, the top choice for all 6 was desert and hot. And then the specifics you see before you here. So date festival, dates, and golf for Indio. Do you think these communities are improving, declining, or staying the same? The improving is blue, the declining is red. And so you can see for Indio, of these 5 with these or 6 with these respondents, more saying Indio is declining than perhaps the others. Which cities, and you can choose 2, do you most associate with rich and interesting history? So Palm Springs at the top. Ethnically diverse population and multicultural character, Indio and then Coachella. Vacation homes and retirement communities, Palm Springs. Date palm farms and agriculture, Indio. Growth and great potential. Asking folks which cities have they visited. So almost half Indio, the 112. And so we had 112 visited Indio. And of those, 36 have attended Indio events. We had 59 folks say that they had visited the city of Coachella. And of those, 15 had not visited Indio. Of those 15 who had not visited Indio, 13 had visited or attended events in Indio. So even when folks are here, they don't know they're here. We ask, where are you likely to visit in the future? Palm Springs at the top, Indian Wells at the bottom. Which of the following events have you attended? The county fair, Coachella, Stagecoach. Which are you interested in attending in the future? So the Indio events topping the list. Where is Coachella Valley Music and Arts Fest and Stagecoach? It's in Coachella. Okay. Now folks are going to understand this is about Indio. So asking these folks the best descriptors. Now remember 112 have visited. So they say festivals, date palm capital and date shakes. It's affordable in the Valley. It's the workforce of the Valley. Why have they not visited? They plan to visit in the future. They're unaware of things to do. It's too far away. Most important to Indio's identity, agriculture and festivals equal percentage. Just gauging familiarity, not just with Indio, but with these places in California. So you could see familiarity with the Coachella Valley is the lowest of these 5 spots. What's the regional hub of the Coachella Valley? Coachella. Okay, so we're still looking from the outside in. These are external conversations with area communities outside of Indio, state and regional professionals and officials with tourism and economic development. So you may find that some of the responses are leaning in that direction, but the assets I identified, so some similarity from what we have already learned, events and festivals, quality of life, safe and relaxed being mentioned in these conversations, the young demographics, multiculturalism, improving housing stock. Our challenges, they recognize, they think most of these conversations find that it's a good place for business and has great opportunity, but it doesn't have the reputation for that. So not recognized as a business location, has some negative perceptions. They too aware of the state of downtown and some of the things that we have already covered. They specifically mentioned the mall property and Highway 111. What they think is missing, gathering places, reasons to visit, and the marketing and promotion of that. So experiences topping this list. Opportunities, and they mentioned many, from several talked about remote workers out of the larger metros in California and elsewhere, chasing a better quality of life. You can see sites and buildings coming from those economic development conversations, marketing promotion being key, both the very youthful and multicultural demographic and community here. And reasons to visit, but many of these conversations specifically mention microbreweries. They need microbreweries. I want a microbrewery when I go there. And so very interesting how specific that got. New ideas, the fact that the experience is better than the reputation, and just the scenic beauty. So now we're at the neck of that hourglass. And so once we get to that statement, it's not a tagline. It will not fit underneath a logo. It's an internal guiding principle, the foundation on which that development and implementation will be based. So our job here with the brand is to tell the most compelling, the most competitive story. And so the strategies are going to help determine what that story is about. And so that's our goal here. So we're going to use in the next few slides some voices of the research that guide us through some insights. It kind of underscores what we've already shown you with the research. Indio suffers a worse reputation than deserved. We don't tell our story well. If we get folks here, they realize it's not the same thing they see on the news. We had a gentleman say, I never hear from Indio, so I can't really answer your questions. I don't know enough. We heard lots of great things, whether it's the workforce, even though you're the largest city, there's sort of a smaller town atmosphere where real people live. You're the oldest city, but you're the youngest community. Not everything is gated. We do things well on a large scale. It's real, it's authentic. Those great things continued. Another person commented on the size of the community. You're the largest city, or we are the largest city. We need to act like it. It's a cultural arts center in the West. Young people can get opportunity they can't get elsewhere. We want to do the good thing, but we don't get the good thing. Again, we're not building a brand around anything negative, but some voices from the research with things that they're concerned about. We're plagued with county resources that can drop some trouble off into the city. We're judged by Highway 111, the mall, and downtown. We need a manicure. We don't present well. Lots of potential, but some folks are impatient and want sooner results. Interesting comment there. Start with ideas. We start with cost in Indio, and that kills our creativity. But we are after what is distinct for that strategy. So we know what the story needs to be about. And so folks telling us about the potential of the place. It's the greatest potential in the valley, the most momentum, not just youth and culture, but flavor and art and land. we're not one-dimensional. And some folks attached to the festival telling us that the festival, the Coachella Fest and others are special because of Indio, not the other way around. It's a great place for cultural exchange. There's no velvet rope to cross. It's more affordable. And a travel writer told us, a travel writer from outside the state said it was the most culturally diverse of the Valley towns that she visited. And she said she was all over the Valley. So just some key points. We've hit all of these as we've gone through the research or shared those quotes. Young demographic, largest city, great opportunity with young folks and energy and ideas. And energy and ideas is not only coming from young folks. You're known for the worldwide, even for the cultural events. It's a gathering place in your history and even today, and as you move forward. It's seen as a place of opportunity for families and businesses both. A great place of opportunity, lower costs for both, for business and families. We do have a lack of awareness that we do need to deal with, but Indio also celebrated as a generous and supportive community. So that platform, that strategy, that one sentence, it's a long one, and I'll carry us through it. We have a structure to it. It's to whom Indio, the target audience is, it's not the only folks that you're going to talk with, it's to whom you have the most appeal. So you may get the greatest results from directing some communication there, but it's not the only audience you'll communicate with. Frame of reference is a geographic context. Point of difference is what makes Indio special and why it should matter to the consumer is the benefit. And then I have some rationale points after I share this with you, but our recommendation for those seeking 360 days of sunshine and opportunity in every direction, Indio, the traditional gathering place and largest city in the Coachella Valley, bears the fruit of cultural exchange and youthful energy. So showing you that your growth and prosperity belong in the desert. And so we just have some rationale points. We choose our words wisely with these strategies. For a community, we want it to be broad. It needs to be broad enough to include all aspects of the community, but specific enough to be compelling. So we saw through the research about the beautiful setting. We talked to someone that had been at one of the events on the Polo Grounds, and one of her favorite memories ever is laying on that grass, leaning back and just seeing the beauty that was all around her. So a nice conversation with her. So set away from the slopes so that you can see that 360-degree vista. A quality of life, both attractive to families, businesses, and visitors. That frame of reference, the traditional gathering place from in history for indigenous peoples, and continuing today as you invite and bring the world to the valley. The size of the market we mentioned through the research, the trade area being attractive, a great economic development message as you learned earlier today in that presentation. And looks like a slide got a little jumbled here, but that bears the fruit of cultural exchange and youthful energy. So Indio, fertile ground, not just for agriculture or date palms, but fertile ground for family businesses, for art, for music, for ideas. The hardworking workforce here is a great asset for the community and a strong economic development message. And so we've got a long list of examples of cultural exchange, and that is not exhaustive. So a great message to base our communication on, and then that benefit. It's the most accessible community in the valley. You have a reputation as great hosts. So we're very excited about this statement. We can talk about next steps or how you measure ROI, or I can go back to this statement and answer any questions. Branding is about recruiting interest and investment. And so it's somewhat intangible, but you can measure your results. You've done a lot of research now that will serve as benchmarks. And so different communities will measure success in different ways. It may be the brand advocacy. We have that brand barometer score. We can ask in a couple of years to see how we moved that. We can perhaps partner with the different festivals to see how they learn and what they know. I know that some research is already done and done regularly, and so we can develop that relationship and compare. Some folks will measure it in job growth or web traffic or tourism funding or sales tax. There are lots of ways, and it's not just the brand that may get us to these increases, but it can have an impact. The communities that will get at what is distinct and communicate consistently and cohesively are the most effective. So our next steps, we're at the neck of the hourglass. Next is some creative development and then implementation. That's not how and where to place the logo. That is how to make the strategy meaningful and relevant, how to bring it to life across Indio to a range of audiences. So I thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to share this update. We're very excited about moving forward in the balance of the project. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Excellent presentation. Does council have any questions at this point? Lots of information to absorb. Go right ahead.
Yeah, just thank you again for all of your data and research into these subjects. I really like the idea of seeing Indio as the Valley workforce, right? And with the other presentation we had earlier, the trade center, right? So we can be the trade center and the workforce of the Valley. And I really like how you accentuated that it's an area of opportunity, an area of gathering, and also a very diverse population. I think those are all very good things about our city that our residents are very supportive of and very proud of, right? That we are the workforce and the trade center of the Valley. And I think a lot of your messages do reflect what our community feels, at least from my perspective. So I really I'm excited for what's coming forward and definitely appreciate all of your work. Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you want to make a comment?
Sure. I'll be brief. I'll try at least. First of all, thank you, Mr. Barlow, and thank you, Brooke Berry, for bringing this to us. This goes hand in hand with our study session that we had earlier. And it's really important, especially, being born and raised here throughout the years, for us to tell our own story. And I think that's what we're doing. And this is a great mechanism to address some of these challenges that Indio has had in the past, not only Indio, but our Valley, but a lot of it's perception. And by us being able to tell our own story, we can start deleting some of those perceptions. And I want to go on the record right now to delete one. The Coachella Valley Arts and Music Festival and Stagecoach is in Indio, California. But that's one of those things that we could work on with our marketing and our branding in our city and really maximizing what we get out of our festivals. We haven't talked about Southwest Arts Festival. I love the Arts Festival. So there's other things that's coming down the pipeline, but this is a good blueprint, especially for myself, to really figure out how our council and how our staff can really start attacking some of these challenges that we see that our community is bringing to our attention. I mean, sometimes it's hard for communities or folks in the city to come to council meetings or really get that outreach. So this provided a mechanism for them to communicate with us on things that they want. So thank you for bringing this forward. Looking forward to our continued partnership and a lot more to come. So stand by to stand by.
Very well said. Councilmember Amit.
No, I don't have any comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Did you want to make a comment? Councilmember Miller.
I just thank you for your continued information that you gave to us. It was very informative in your questions that you asked. And just let us know how we can help you from here out to benefit not only yourself, but our community as a whole. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Very great information. Some of it we already knew, some of it we now have to work on and massage and be able to present ourselves in the best light. I appreciate that tremendous effort and ongoing relationship that we have with you. So thank you very much. Ms. Berry, any other closing comments?
I just thank you all for your time and your support of this project that I think will bring enormous return on investment to our residents primarily, but also those really across the valley and what we said, our target audience is a number of people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Item number 9. This is a time set aside for public comments, not items for not, let me try this again. This is a time set aside for items not on the agenda specific to public comments. We have both a couple of requests to speak on paper and the actual lobby here in the council chambers, as well as online. I'll call the first one, Marlena Hernandez, please. Just a reminder, everyone has 3 minutes.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I am certain most of you do not know who I am, so allow me to introduce myself. My name is Marlena Hernandez, and I'm a current IPOA board member, dispatcher for the city, and I hold collateral duties as a tactical dispatcher for Desert Regional SWAT. I'm a communications training officer and a voluntary police cadet advisor, which evolved from my time as a youth police cadet. I've grown up within this department, hired at the age of 19, and spent the last 16 years taking pride in the job that I do. I've had the privilege to work under 3 chiefs of police and their handpicked command staff. I've worked with some of the most severe staffing shortages in IPD history, controversial chiefs, a recession, and now a pandemic. And I can tell you none of these events mentioned have affected morale to the point it is currently at under Chief Mike Washburn and Assistant Chief Schaefer. Let me be very clear, morale at the police department is at an all-time low, and every day the 2 chiefs are there, it only gets worse. Shortly after the media began publishing articles about last month's meeting, in typical Mike Washburn fashion, he defended himself by shifting the blame, a common tactic of his since day one. His loose claim of inheriting a dysfunctional police department that was in dire need of accountability and correction are absolutely absurd and insulting to someone like myself who has dedicated their life to the residents of the city. Even more egregious is his direct claim that a handful of influential individuals are concerned about the level of accountability he has held them to since his appointment. This reeks of arrogance and double standard. He asked to be held to the same standard any other member of the department would be, and given the circumstances he's currently involved in, any officer accused of perjuring himself would certainly be placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of an investigation. Now I ask you, Mayor, City Council, and City Manager, why the double standard? What he failed to mention in his response was that he has personally selected nearly every supervisor, manager, and up to the 2 assistant chiefs at the police department since his appointment. How can he continue to blame an inherited department since it is his department? 37 is the number of police department employees who have left for other agencies, quit, were strong-armed into retirement, or terminated under Chief Washburn. This number will only continue to grow if you do not act now. It is evident the city does not value its most valuable asset, me, and instead chooses to blindly support the chief in his assertion that I am just a disgruntled employee that does not like to be held accountable. Each of you can no longer claim ignorance to the actions of Chief Washburn and Assistant Chief Schaefer. The citizens, no, the constituents of this city do not support our police department because of those 2 men. They support our department because of the men and women like myself who work tirelessly and thanklessly every single day to help keep our city great. Thank you.
Okay, next request to speak, Wendell Phillips, please.
Mayor, members of the council, my name is Wendell Phillips. I'm the general counsel of the Indio Police Command Unit. I was here a month ago to talk about a crisis of confidence and competence and credibility. I have another C to talk to you about tonight, and that's census. I don't know if your citizens know, I wasn't mentioned by the consultant, but I saw it up on the screen that Indio has to crush crime. 19 years ago, when Leo Parafan joined the police department, he was the 64th police officer hired here. Right now, I think you have 61. In 19 years, you've added 10,000 rooftops and 40,000 citizens, from 60,000 to almost 100,000 people. You have one of the lowest staffed agencies in the country, not just in California, in the country, per 1,000 citizens. You have people leaving just within the last year. You've lost a lot of people within the last 2 months. You've lost 75 years of institutionalized memory. Lieutenant Hafner, Sergeant Bob Nava, and now the Police Association President, Jason Polanco, who could easily promote to sergeant, qualified. He's decided to go over to the DA's office because he can't stand it here anymore. Hafner left because he got subjected to one of Chief Washburn's little IAs, and the same thing with Bob Nava. You lost him. 75 years of knowing who the bad guys are, knowing how to protect this community. You know how many traffic officers you got in the city? Does anybody in the dais know? You got 2. Palm Desert, they got 20. You get calls every day from your constituents about speeding and reckless driving and drag racing and crashes. Guess what? Those 2 officers in traffic not going to last very long because you're going to need them in patrol because people are leaving. You got people here that stay because they want lifetime medical. You got some young officers. This is just a way station. You're paying to train them, paying them to get them out of the academy, and then Palm Springs is offering them $30,000 to go move down the road and go to work there, where they got almost double the staff for about half the population. You need to do something. This problem's been going on for 7 months. And what got done? Well, we got to do the investigation. So I went to the interview with the investigator, with one of my clients, and the investigator didn't even know that the chief had left town for 2 weeks and wasn't available for an interview. And what happened? He vested in his retirement and his lifetime medical in the meantime. And the citizens of India are going to get to pay for it. If you think this is over, just because a month ago we were here and you didn't do anything, you don't know police officers very well. And I have a hunch by the time we get together again in a month, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay, those are the 2 requests to speak I have on paper. City Clerk, do we have any additional requests to speak?
Yes, Mayor, we have Jason Polanco on Zoom. Jason, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, Mr. City Manager. Unfortunately, I cannot be there in person because of a planned vacation, but thank God for technology. As president of the Indio Police Officers Association, I'm here so each of you can hear it firsthand of the position our members have taken based on a 100% vote of our membership. The rank and file men and women who are sitting in that audience, both sworn and non-sworn, who serve this community, have overwhelmingly lost confidence in Chief Washburn and Assistant Chief Schaefer. A staggering 88% of the members declared no confidence in Chief Washburn, with 82% reaching the same in Assistant Chief Schaefer. No remedy short of their removal is acceptable. While this vote may come as a surprise to those outside of the police department, it is long overdue. Most organizational issues can be worked through and oftentimes overlooked. However, the lack of integrity and years of failed leadership by these 2 individuals leave us with no room to remain silent. Over the years, the POA, both as a body and as individuals, have expressed their displeasure with the leadership of Chief Washburn. Subtle closed-door meetings have taken place in addition to large advisory group discussions. These meetings regularly discuss low morale throughout the department, lack of management accountability, and the inability to attract more personnel while retaining the current staff. Our pleas have gone ignored. More recently, Chief Washburn and Assistant Chief Schaefer lied under oath by commission and omission regarding material facts during a disciplinary arbitration hearing in the earlier part of the year, and again as recent as June 28th. These 2 executive level police managers represent the highest ranking officers at the Indio Police Department. Their conduct, particularly on the stand under oath, must be above reproach. Perjury is a felony, and being able to tell the truth is the foundation of our profession. Integrity and accountability start from the top down. Mr. City Manager, on May 25th, Chris Hamilton and I met with you in your office. We did our best, given the limited time, to provide you with advance notice of the impending vote. The basis for the meeting was that you would understand our position, recognize the severity of the situation, and hopefully appreciate the efforts to be discreet. As you inferred in our meeting, this was likely a personality conflict that could be fixed. I'm here to tell you, Mr. City Manager, and I'll repeat it again as I did that day. This is not a personality conflict. This concerns a failure of character and leadership at the very highest level of the police department. Although we made efforts to keep this out of the public eye, it is apparent some of the council and you refuse to acknowledge the seriousness of this matter. The IPOA as a membership understands that if our collective dismay falls upon deaf ears, we will have to continue working under Chief Washburn. If so, I suspect there will likely be retaliation against me, my board, and my members, whether subtly or overtly by Chief Washburn, and neither option is beneficial for the city, its citizens, or the employees.
Okay, any other requests to speak?
No more comments, Mayor.
Okay, I'm going to make a little bit of a change in the schedule at this point. Since the majority of our items this evening are on consent calendar, I'm going to move item 11A, which is a public hearing, up to this spot before the consent calendar. Having said that, due to the fact that I have a conflict because I own a property in the area within 1,000 feet, I am going to turn this over to Mayor Pro Tem Wayman Furman. It's all yours.
We're just going to wait just a moment while Mayor Holmes leaves the dais.
All right, the next item is a public hearing item. It's item 11A, ordinance number 1764, approving the Second Amendment to the development agreement between the City of Indio and Golden Voice LLC and Coachella Music Festival LLC to extend the term of the agreement to 2050. Ordinance number 1765, amending provisions of the major music festival overlay zone related to the extension of the term. Resolution number 10231, approving an amendment to the major music festival permit and finding that project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, Class 1 and Class 23. Mr. Snyder.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. For the record, Kevin Snyder, your Director of Community Development. And as the Mayor Pro Tem indicated, this is a public hearing item and it pertains to the items that the Mayor referenced. So I will present on those items and then be happy to answer any questions. So as the Mayor Pro Tem indicated, this is a public hearing item on 2 ordinances and a resolution. These ordinances pertain to, first of all, Ordinance 1764, which is a Second Amendment to a development agreement between the City of Indio and Golden Voice LLC and Coachella Music Festival LLC. Ordinance number 1765 is an amendment to the Major Music Festival Overlay Zone, which are the zoning regulations contained in Chapter 159 of the Indio Municipal Code. Finally, Resolution 10231 is an amendment to the Major Music Festival permit. This is a permit that is actually issued directly by the City Council, and I'll explain that further. So as I indicated, all of these items are coming before the City Council for consideration and possible action. The Second Amendment to the Development Agreement is focused on the term of the development agreement. The current term of the development agreement was established in 2013. It was an initial 17-year term. The amendment request by the applicant, which is Golden Voice LLC and Coachella Music Festival LLC, is to extend that term an additional 20 years. So in total, the term would extend 37 years, 2013 to 2050. The second ordinance is, as I mentioned earlier, amendments to the Major Music Festival Overlay Zone regulations. And these are primarily to clean up some references pertaining to current references from the previous general plan to the current general plan, and then also reflecting the term that is being requested for extension. And then finally, the Major Music Festival permit amendment is to potentially amend that term of that permit, which is for 20 years, for the 37 years, again, to 2050. The map here just shows the area in question. These are the properties that are currently utilized for the festival. I'm sure the council is familiar with them, but for the benefit of everyone, this is in the southeast portion of our community. It is bounded on the west by Monroe, on the east by the Madison, and west by Madison and east by Monroe, Avenue 52 to the south, and Avenue 50 and some properties north of that as well. So the Coachella Valley, or Coachella Arts Festival program, inclusive of the Coachella Music Festival and Stagecoach, have been operating in our community respectively since 1997 and 2007. They have become major events in our city. They have given the city international recognition, and they have provided both direct and indirect economic benefits to the city of Indio, as well as the entire Coachella Valley. The city council has taken extensive actions throughout the years to formalize the relationship with Golden Voice and Coachella Music Festival. These have ranged from a comprehensive environmental impact report that was conducted in 2013, certified by the city council, along with the issuance of the major music festival permit, the establishment of the zoning regulations that I referred to earlier, which are the major music festival overlay zone. And then subsequently throughout the years, as additional information came forward, there were amendments to the EIR that I referenced just a minute ago, and also amendments to the major music festival permit. So this city council in its policymaking role has had extensive imprint, if you will, on the conduct of the music festivals by Golden Voice and Coachella Music Festival LLC in the city of Indio for the last approximately 9 years. So your planning commission actually considered this first, and in their role as an advisory body to the city council, they made recommendations. Now, it is important to note that they did not consider the major music festival permit amendment, and that's because this council is the direct decision-making body on that. So they did not make a recommendation to you, and that item is before you exclusively. They did consider and make a recommendation on the requested amendment to the development agreement, which we call the second amendment. Again, this is to the term of the development agreement. And it isn't normal that planning commissions would consider and give recommendation on amendments to development agreements. But because the amendment was tied with a request to amend the zoning regulations, we felt it was prudent that they be considered together by the planning commission to give full context, and then they would give your full they would give their full advisory recommendation to you. So the Planning Commission did consider both the amendment to the development agreement and the amendment to the current zoning regulations on July 28th, and they put forward two separate resolutions, 4-0, recommending approval on both amendments of the amendment to the development agreement and the amendment to the zoning regulations to the City Council, again, acting in their advisory capacity. So as we went through the analysis process, we looked at the requested amendments from several different angles. The first was, does it comply with the Indio General Plan? And it does. And in essence, what this City Council has done is you've taken affirmative policy action to establish the importance of festivals in our community, both in our land use policies and our economic development policies. So as indicated on the slide, there are several land use and economic development policies that the requested amendments comply with. We also looked at it from the perspective of, does it comply with the development agreement statutory requirements? And in the perspective of the development agreement statutory requirements, it's important that there is a transparent public process. And our city code already sets up that transparent public process. So that transparent public process was conducted at the Planning Commission. It was a duly noticed public hearing, both in the paper as well as to nearby residents within 300 feet. And also the same public noticing was conducted for this City Council hearing tonight. Again, public noticing in the newspaper of record, along with public noticing to adjacent property owners within 300 feet. We also looked again in terms of compliance with our existing regulations. As I mentioned before, that we found that the request amendments were compliant with that. Finally, we looked at it from the context of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. In this particular instance, the requested amendments were found to be what we call categorically exempt. And there are two classes of exemption, sometimes referred to as Class 1 and Class 23, also referred to as 15301 and 15323. But basically, there is no substantive change in environmental conditions that would warrant additional environmental review. And a reminder that this has gone through significant environmental review in the past. And based on that environmental review and the change, the limited nature of the requested changes, we found no additional need for CEQA analysis. Before I go on to the staff recommendation, I do want to respond to some questions that were submitted by Councilmember Ortiz. And I want to thank the council member for providing them in advance so that we could respond to them. Apologies, I'm having a little problem with the so the council member asked 4 questions. I am going to respond to the first 2. The assistant city manager and finance director is going to respond to the 3rd question, and our city attorneys will respond to the 4th question. So I will read the first question. The first question is, what are the protections in place if things go wrong? Traffic issues, noise issues, non-compliance, increases in crime. So as I mentioned before, there was an extensive environmental review process for the music festivals conducted in 2013. And this was done in anticipation of the growth of the music festivals to the current attendance numbers that we see today, the 125,000 on average for Coachella and the roughly 95,000 on average for Stagecoach. And as part of that, in the environmental world that we operate under CEQA, there is what is called a mitigation and monitoring program that had to be established for the conduct of the festivals. There are 17 pages of mitigation actions that are applicable to the conduct of the festivals. And the city is responsible for monitoring the compliance to those actions. So every time there's a festival event, a representative of the city, and it's usually a representative of the community development department, is actually on the site and around the site monitoring compliance with those mitigation conditions. And if we find that there's a compliance issue, we notify the party, which is in this instance Golden Voice. We give them the opportunity to cure, and typically it's a very quick response. And since 2013, we've had a very good interaction on those. So we have that aspect of ensuring that impacts are mitigated. We also have, through the council's actions of issuing the major music festival permit, you actually have a permit with conditions of approval. And many city departments are involved in assuring compliance with those conditions of approval as they relate to traffic, noise, dust, police operations, security. So what you will find is that representatives from community development, from public works, from police, community services are all engaged in working to ensure that those conditions of approval that the council has established through your issuance of that permit are regularly found to be met. And I would share with you, and I'm sure the council is fully aware of this, but for the benefit of all parties, every year there is a requirement under that festival permit for what is called an annual implementation plan. And that annual implementation plan is for the specific festival that is to be held. And over the years, we have engaged in a logistics and coordination engagement with Golden Voice representatives that starts in October of the earlier year preceding the event and continues all the way up and through the event. So there has been an iterative process and a growth of understanding through this coordination effort that occurs every year early in order to assure that, number one, the conditions are being applied to, and number two, that if there are any problems or issues, that they can be resolved early, and then number three, that there are clear understandings about lines of communication and who the responsible parties are, whether it's on the city side or on the Golden Voice side. So I will honestly tell the council that in 30 years of doing this, this is probably the most extensive mitigation program I have seen in my experience. I'm certainly, my experience is not without other examples, but this is an extensive mitigation and monitoring program and permit program that I think addresses the balance of needs of the public interests and concerns around assuring that there is reasonable mitigation to impacts that are caused by the festivals with the needs of the Golden Voice representatives to operate the festivals in a way that promotes the kind of community events that we have become known for. The second question is, what are the benefits to Golden Voice and to the city of having an extension for 20 more years? I will let the representatives for Golden Voice give context on their feelings about the benefits to Golden Voice. But for the city, I want to remind you that you as a city council on September 18th, 2019, adopted a new general plan for the city, a 20-year general plan. That plan places particular emphasis on the festivals. You created a festival district, which is a land use designation in your general plan. You created a festival sub-area strategy that focuses on how to promote and enhance and grow festival events in the city. You established land use and economic goals for the city that relate to festival operations, both in terms of creating additional music and cultural events through affiliation with these particular festivals, as well as bringing other festivals to the city. So you have taken significant policy action to cement and enhance the benefit of festivals in the city. It's certainly, and as the council's aware, and as the assistant city manager and finance director will talk, there are financial benefits, both to the city, both indirect and direct. There are financial benefits to our residents who can take advantage of the short-term rental opportunities that are often utilized for folks that are visiting. There are benefits to businesses that take advantage of the increased presence of individuals in our community with money to spend and interest in doing things beyond the festivals. So there is certainly, I think, both from the policy perspective in terms of what the council cemented as a goal for the city, which is to be the city of festivals and to center focus and energy and legislative actions around promoting ourselves as a festival area, and also the understanding that the festivals have created a synergy, if you will, for the city to further enhance its cultural tourism and artistic appeal beyond these festivals. So it is in essence an anchor that this council has recognized in the policy statements and policy guidelines and goals it has adopted to further expand, if you will, down the road into the future over the 20-year planning period of the general plan. And the third question is, what is the current percent of ticket revenues we collect? And I will turn that over to the assistant city manager and finance director.
Good evening, Rob Rockwell, Assistant City Manager and Finance Director. Kevin, could you just repeat the question one more time for me, please?
The question is, what is the current percent of ticket revenues we collect?
So specific to the ticket revenues, there was the agreement that started in 2014 set a ticket sharing fee of $5 per ticket sold. Now there is an inflator on that, and it goes up a minimum of 2% and a ceiling of 4% every year on the number of tickets sold at the festival. So based on the CPI increases, the last festival that was held in fiscal year 2019, that was $6.08 that the city received per ticket. Typical number of tickets sold is about $300,000. So in 2019, the city received $2,040,000 in direct ticket sales. And I'm glad, Kevin, the community development director mentioned indirect and direct costs, because certainly I would say that the greatest economic benefits to the valley and to the city are the hardest to measure. A lot of that is tied to the fact that there are some huge sales tax benefits in the valley, but those sales tax reports that are provided to the state and to the city eventually are monthly and quarterly information. So measuring particularly like sales tax type of benefits to the city of Indio over a specific weekend is very difficult. And there's no way that we could tell you exactly what those specific benefits were. Specifically to the city, the other issue we have is that we have some sales that take place at the festival site. That sales tax information is generally confidential when you only have, one or two businesses that are providing them. But the direct benefit from sales tax is, I would say, just to give you a general idea, we're talking maybe a couple $100,000. There's not that huge direct benefits. Certainly, we have benefits besides tickets and sales tax from TOT. But again, that is very difficult to measure because you have reporting that's done quarterly and monthly, trying to identify how much of that is from 3 weekends during the month of April is a very difficult thing. We also have a lot of our revenue that comes in through Airbnb from short-term rentals, and a lot of that is brought in before Christmas, October, November, December, because it's coming in when reservations are being made. So identifying how much of that is tied to the announcement of a lineup versus how much of that is snowbirds coming out of the snow into the warmer desert climate is impossible for us to dictate. So while ticket sales, we have some direct number from ticket sales. We have direct TOT, about $825,000 that comes from campers directly on the festival sites for those 3 weekends. There is a lot of other indirect revenue that we get that is very challenging for us to estimate. So hopefully that addresses most of the questions you have on the finances. Thank you.
And then the final question posed by Councilmember Ortiz that the city attorney will respond to is, how does the current percentage compare to fees charged to other music festivals around the state of California?
Thank you, Roxanne Diaz, City Attorney. With respect to this agreement, there isn't really a comparison with respect to the ticket fee revenue. And the reason why is because this agreement is very novel. When we negotiated the agreement, it's, I think, likely the first of its kind where we engaged a development agreement process where the city is receiving ticket revenue for an event that's not held on city property. Other venues and cities, and I took a quick look this afternoon, that are utilized for large concerts such as Coachella and Stagecoach that I can think of actually occur on city-owned property or a city-owned venue. And the business structure, the model, and the contract between the entities would likely be either a facility lease agreement or a license agreement because of the public agency property involved. Here, Golden Voice is a very large landowner. I think they own over 280 acres. In addition to the other leasehold interests that they have for the festival site. An example that I found is Lollapalooza, which just took place in Chicago. It takes place at Grant Park. It's a park that's owned and managed by the city of Chicago. So the structure, I would think, is different. I quickly looked at, because I remember there's a Bottle Rock Festival in Napa, and that occurs on the Napa Fairgrounds called Napa Valley Expo, and that's owned by the state. And I found quickly that there's a rental payment structure. So there's no comparison to what we have with respect to the unique relationship we have with Golden Voice and with respect to the development agreement and the ticket fee revenue, in addition to all the other revenue that was mentioned.
And so with that, the recommendation, and I want to reiterate, the recommendation is from your planning commission, which is your advisory body, is, along with staff concurrence, is to, and I won't read the full recommendation, it's a containing your staff report, but in essence, we are recommending that you waive full reading for both ordinances and adopt them, along with adopting the resolution pertaining to the Major Music Festival Permit Amendment. And with that, staff would be happy to answer any questions that the council might have, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder, for that extensive report. We have the applicant present. You want to come up and give some comments or presentation? Good. Presentation ready? All righty. All right, there we go.
All right.
Thank you, Director Snyder, for that comprehensive presentation. There's not much more to say, but I will go ahead and add a little bit to that. So good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Furman, honorable council members. I'm David Goldberg of Armbruster, Goldsmith, and Delvac, counsel to the applicants Golden Voice and Coachella Music Festival. I'm joined this evening by Bill Fold and Chad Holden of Golden Voice, as well as my partner, Bill Delvac, and we appreciate this opportunity to present to you tonight the term extension request for the music festivals. Now, we know none of you are strangers to the Coachella and Stagecoach music festivals. I'm assuming none of you were respondents to the survey you saw earlier, and you're very familiar with them, as well as them being held in the city. But we would still like to spend just a few minutes providing some background and explaining the request before you. Let's see if this works. Oh, there we go. So Golden Voice put on the first Coachella Festival in Indio in 1999 and the first Stagecoach Festival in 2007. And in 2013, we worked with the city on a comprehensive entitlement effort for the festivals, which included the certification of an EIR and the establishment of the Major Music Festival Zone, and what was then a 17-year permit and development agreement that incorporated a strict set of requirements, public benefits to the city, and long-term certainty for the festivals. In the years that followed, the festivals continued to grow in popularity. And so in 2016, the city approved an increase in attendance from 99,000 to 125,000 for Coachella, and from 75,000 to 85,000 for Stagecoach. Now, unfortunately, the festivals had to be suspended in 2020 and 2021 due to the state and county COVID-19 public health orders. But after several years of operating under these new approvals and following 2 years of suspended festivals, we are now requesting an extension of the permit and development agreement from 2030 to 2050. This extension will ensure the continuation of the long-term public benefits the festivals provide to the city and to the greater Coachella Valley. The festivals will continue as they've been. There aren't any changes to the attendance cap, the number of festival events, or the festival site, nor any operational changes. I will whip through this because Director Snyder already explained it, but there are 3 requests before you this evening, each of which relate to extending the term to the permit and the development agreement, a zone text amendment, a development agreement amendment, and a permit amendment. As the City of Festivals, we know you are all familiar with the various cultural, reputational, and economic benefits that festivals provide the city and the entire valley. These would continue and be extended to 2050 with the approval of the extension request, including the local jobs, the local spending, the TOT revenue paid by Golden Voice to the city, and the direct increases in city general fund revenue. The public benefits required under the development agreement also would continue for an additional 20 years. In particular, the ticket fees that the city receives under the development agreement would continue with CPI adjustments for up to 20 additional years. And this is what's great about the development agreement, is that it's scalable. And so when we were here in 2016 for an increase in attendance capacity, the city benefited from that as well because the ticket fees are based on attendance. With this request for additional term, again, the city would share in that with additional fees over a longer period. And this would ensure that the city, its residents, and its local businesses would all share in the success of the festivals through the increased general fund revenues. And so the extension would continue with that well-balanced program while providing greater certainty over a longer period, facilitating the continued investment in the long-term success of the events and these substantial public benefits. Now, planning with the city for the festivals is a year-round effort. And after the hiatus of the last couple of years, we'll be working again with the city on the various operational plans that help minimize impacts to our neighbors during the festivals.
Yes.
These plans also spell out a communications program with residents to provide information regarding the festivals, when they will be occurring, point of contact information, and alternative access routes during the festivals. We'll continue to foster strong working relationships with the city staff, the police and fire departments, as well as close coordination with the festival site's neighbors and the city's neighbors as well. And as has been presented to you, the extension request is exempt under CEQA, as both an existing facilities exemption, and a Class 23 exemption. And it is also covered by the underlying CEQA clearance, the earlier certified EIR, as well as the subsequent addendum. In closing, Golden Voice is more than just a festival operator here in Indio. And as you heard, it owns substantial property, approximately 280 acres within the festival site. And so it has a vested interest, not just in the success of the festivals, but in the city's overall success as well. And so we want to thank you again for your consideration and respectfully request that you approve the term extension request. We're available to answer any questions and certainly would request an opportunity to address any issues that may come up during public comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your presentation and thank you for being here with us tonight. Being that this is a public hearing, I'm going to open the public hearing now and ask our council if they have any questions.
I'll wait for the public comment.
Wait for the public comment. Is excuse me, Councilmember Amit still on? She has any questions?
I have no questions.
No questions. Okay, Sabi, do we have anyone on Zoom with any comments or questions?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, we have 2 members of the public. Would you like to start now?
Yes.
Okay, we will have John Becerra. You have 3 minutes.
Hello.
Go ahead, John.
Good evening, Council. My name is John Becerra. I'm an organizer here at the City of Indio. First and foremost, before I get into my comment for Golden Voice, I very seriously have concerns as to why Elaine Holmes had to leave for this vote, but was allowed to stay for the Tamale Fest vote. It seems that her reasoning seems to stand on that last vote as well, of her business being within 1,000 feet of the proposed area, since her business was in downtown, as is the Tamale Festival. So I'm very seriously questioning why that rule is being followed now and not then. So that's my first instance that the optics and the procedures going on here seem to be fishy at best. Secondly, with my understanding of Golden Voice, based on what they said, the investments they've made, these people aren't going anywhere. So I don't understand why we couldn't, as a residents, get more out of this deal when they're asking for a 30-year extension. We're coming out of a pandemic. We are struggling, to see someone get another sweetheart deal while we are still looking for affordable housing. You guys are talking about benefits to people getting short-term rentals. Well, I literally can't afford a home. So those kind of benefits only go to more people with more power. So I would really appreciate amendments made to this agreement that specifically increase the direct benefit that we can clearly see, not assume in some economic benefit, but that we can clearly see on paper go to the residents. And specifically that money should be further allocated to residential programs like parks, programming, stuff for our families. This is all very hazy and it's not clear to the residents what the benefit is other than we get to just say Coachella is here. There needs to be clear indications as to why we get to say 30 more years to this when a lot of people have trouble just getting into the door with other things. So again, I would really ask that the council go back and just try to fight for more stuff for our community members. I know that staff might be worried these people might cut and run, but they're not going to. There's over 200 acres of land here. Everywhere else is going to be too expensive. There's no other deal, just like our attorney just said, that they can get like here, that's just unique to here. So I think we can have a better strength to negotiate and leverage that opportunity to get more for our residents. And that's what I'll leave it at. So thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments, Mr. Becerra. We have one more public comment.
Karen Borja, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My first ask is that Councilmember Wayman recuse himself from this vote because he received $2,000 from Coachella Fest Golden Voice, either employees or founders. My second is that Councilmember Glenn do the same for receiving over $5,000 in contributions just in the last 8 months alone. And my third request is that Councilmember Lupe also do the same for receiving $4,500 in contributions similar to the council members before her. My fourth request and my last one is that you do not extend this 30-year permit to Golden Voice LLC. They have been sued multiple times for underpaying resident wages. They ask us to pay to take out their trash. Ask us to pay to take out their art installations. Housing costs have increased around the Coachella Fest area. And fake threats of them leaving are somewhat impossible to understand. Will the company receive a cheaper rate on police cost anywhere other than Indio? Will Palm Springs let them bring 17 Beyonce semi trucks through the busiest streets? No, but Indio has. So please don't make that a point of contention as you hopefully not vote on this. I am actually cycling through miles right now on Avenue 50th. And at the moment, I cannot ride my bike to Monroe because there is no sidewalks, there is no bike lane, and there are no streetlights at the entrance of the polo fields on Avenue 50th. After 20 years of this festival being in the city of Indio, we do not have a new police station. We don't have new libraries or $1 million set aside for parks. It's either because you, the council, are mismanaging the festival revenues, or the relationship with Golden Voice is not beneficial to the city of Indio. And therefore, you should not continue with this permit for 30 more years. It just does not make monetary sense. Thank you and have a good night.
All right, thank you, Ms. Borja, for your comments. We do have one request to speak in the queue, and that would be Mr. Sam Torres.
I was kind of hoping to hear Golden Voice talk, but yeah, my name is Sam Torres, resident of the city of Indio. CEQA, having the full environmental impact report was an important milestone for the city of Indio. I was there when we adopted it. And the reason why is because prior years to that, if any of you remember, it was a circus. It was crazy. Our traffic, the sound, the people just wandering through our community. So as a community director had pointed out, CEQA is the document is a solid document, and I think it addresses all of our concerns as far as impacts and mitigation. The First Amendment agreement allowed for, I believe, was $1 per ticket increase into the fee. Is that right, Rob? Or do you recall? Or maybe you can answer after. So in the development agreement, they're asking for something, and that's a 30-year agreement. I think that's a great idea because in the original agreement, one of the things we did get was that 17-year contract. And what that gave us also for the folks who were working, even though it might have only been seasonal, it gave them 17 years to count on of being able to be employed at the Golden Voice. I've worked the festival. I've worked alongside some of those people. And one of the things that I secretly took pride in was the fact that it was no longer year to year. Give me a permit for next year. Give me a permit for next year. If you don't, we'll leave. They used to really play us that way. The 17-year agreement makes sure that at least we as a city have the benefit of counting on that revenue. And then also the people who are employed, many of whom live in our community, are going to be employed full time. So from that perspective, I do support an extension of the agreement. But what I'm looking at here is in the development agreement, the city has the ability to request something out of that. And I think that we should look at the financial, as the previous speaker had spoken. The city of Indio, at least when I was on council, probably spent about $7 to $8 million improving roadways, both Monroe and Madison. Think about that. $7 to $8 million that we spent. The driveways that now go into Empire were put in by the city of Indio. You go down to Shadow Hills High School, and the roadways improved all the way up to Sun City Shadow Hills, and then it goes 2 lanes from there, all the ways down to Talavera. And the city of Indio in all of this time has never found the money to improve that particular road. Well, if you can get an agreement struck with these guys that would allow for future revenues, you could start earmarking some of that money for improvements such as that. Now, I know staff will say, oh, the money was earmarked. We couldn't spend on nothing else. It was categorical funds and everything. The fact of the matter is that staff and the council sets those priorities. So when they needed the money for Golden Voice, for Mr. Hagan, and for the development of the properties, the money was there. Mrs. Borjas makes a very important comment about being able to improve her particular area. These revenues will allow that to happen. And I think that if the council doesn't take that action, then the voters probably will at the ballot box through an initiative. I think that would be our only recourse if the council doesn't negotiate. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments, Mr. Torres. Do we have one more comment?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I have Ryan Becerra. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. My name is Ryan Becerra. I'm a recent college graduate and lifelong Indio resident. And unfortunately, as I've grown up in Indio, I've witnessed numerous nefarious actors come in and create downright monopolies within many of our city sectors, insofar that it's hurting Indio residents and the community at large. From Chandi Group USA overrunning our city with chain restaurants and gas stations, which I myself have personal experience of witnessing terrible and truly exploitative working conditions, particularly for young workers, to out-of-state retirement and resort type developers buying up all our homes and communities and creating a housing market that completely neglects your constituents. And now to today, in this attempt by Golden Voice to monopolize our events culture, it's terrible. And, my main point here today that I want to make is it's clear that these monopolies, although they may bring in short-term capital and frankly present opportunities for our council members to receive large campaign donations, don't offer actual sustainable investments for our city and its true residents, because I like to ask what happens when the affluent class of silent and boomer generations are no longer around to fill our retirement communities. What happens when the lucrative oil industry fails and Chandi's land developments can't be or become completely unusable? What happens when the effects of, say, climate change or any other factors pushes Golden Voice out of Indio and the desert, of which we can't forget they've tried to leave before? Well, I'll tell you that the residents of Indio, of which them and their families have been here for generations, including families like my own, they'll still be here. The indigenous communities, the working class and immigrant-derived communities, the people that actually built this city, they'll still be here, yet you will have let them down if you continue to monopolize their city's industries and continue to neglect the desires of actual Indio residents. And finally, I'd like to note again that it would be completely unethical for council members Lupe, Glenn, and Wayman to vote on this item as having received campaign donations from Alex Hagan of Golden Voice creates a clear conflict of interest that frankly needs to be made apparent to your residents. That's all, and thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Mr. Becerra. Sabdi, do we have any more?
I have no further comments.
So we have no more comments and I have no more in the queue. At this time, I'd like to give the applicant a moment to comment on some of those concerns.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Furman. No specific response to any of the comments, but just a general comment that we certainly, Golden Voice appreciates the long-term, long-standing relationship with the city. We continue to believe that the development agreement and its public benefits program is balanced and fair to the city. One correction, you heard commenters state that this was a 30-year extension. This is a 20-year extension. The current term expires in 2030. This would go to 2050. And so that would be 20 additional years of increased general fund revenue through the ticket fees to the city. And certainly some of the requests that you heard from commenters about the types of things the community needs could certainly benefit from that increase in general fund revenue. And certainly Golden Voice looks forward to continuing to be a partner with the city in any way it can in helping to address issues of concern to the community. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Now, would our council have any questions for the applicant or for staff?
I'm good. First, I just wanted to mention that, I am very appreciative of the work that Golden Voice does in our community. I think the festivals are, a world-class event, and not just the talent from the artists, but the talent from the producers and the organizers. It's such a well-organized event, and it is a benefit to our community, right? And I think my concern's only because it is a 20-year extension. I think we need to do a little more research in terms of community outreach first to the areas around there, because it has been 7 years since we did this agreement, that we need to go in, because some of the public comments that we do have is people around that area saying that they're actually not included in the development agreement, but they are impacted. So I think we do need to go back and see, are there areas being impacted that were not taken into account? And also, are there any new concerns that have come up since that agreement in 2013 that we can implement into this new agreement before we sign up for another 20-year extension? The other concern that I have is with the comparisons, right? We heard our city attorney mention that we don't really have any clear comparisons because of the way that this is structured, but we still need to have comparisons to make sure that we're making a strong negotiation on behalf of our residents, right? So if right now we're going in without comparing our fees to any other events or music festivals. So I would like us to do some of that research and see how do the negotiations from other events, large events, California events, because, you know, recently I have friends who work at the tennis gardens, and I know that the ticket fees that they see there is around 10%, right? Which is much higher than what we see here, which, you know, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but we still need to have other comparisons to make sure that we're making a strong negotiation before we sign up for a 20-year extension. And those are my concerns. You know, I love having the festivals here. I think it's very important that we keep them here, but I also think it's important that we make educated decisions here with plenty, especially for something like this, a 20-year extension of something that has a very big impact on our community, to make sure that we're addressing all of these concerns and also negotiating with our best foot forward.
Does Councilmember Hamid have any questions or for staff or the applicant?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Snyder, you like to respond to that, or?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I would just note on the community outreach, I just want to remind council that we did consecutive public notification outside of the boundaries of the 67 properties that are covered by the development agreement. So there was extensive mailing to property owners within the area, of which we received 4 responses, 2 at Planning Commission and 2 prior to the city council meeting. Those 2 were actually from the same party. So I just want to assure the council and members of the public that we followed all of our notification rules that were adopted by the council and are in effect. And we also, in addition, as I mentioned earlier, we did newspaper notification, public notification, which is also required by current city code. So we did follow all of our required public notification procedures for both Planning Commission and City Council.
Great, thank you, Mr. Snyder. Being that we don't have any more questions for staff or the applicant, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for council comments. I'll start with, actually, do we need to open it back up?
No, not at all. I just wanted to make one comment with respect to the comments that were made on campaign contributions. Council members acting in their capacity as an elected council member, they're not prohibited from acting on a matter if it involves somebody who's given them a campaign contribution. This is in the Code of Regulations for the state of California, and also in line with precedent by the California Supreme Court that has held that. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you for the opportunity to do that.
Great, thank you. I want to ask Councilman Remy, does she have any comments?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I've been one of the fortunate council members and residents to have seen the festivals grow and flourish here in Indio, not only the festivals that Golden Voice brings to us, but also the Riverside County Fair and the Indio International Tamale Festival. And with each festival, not only do we receive direct benefits, but the benefit to the community and the sense of pride that we have by these organizations coming in and building that international recognition for us is really more than we could ever pay for. The value of that brand, that marketing effort, that recognition is something that we as a city could never afford to do. So I, for one, am appreciative of all of the events that come to the city of Indio, because they put us on the map, and putting us on the map captures the attention of potential businesses, potential residents, potential everything, and just increases our future ability to deliver the services that we need to deliver to our constituents. So I want to thank Golden Voice for their partnership. I want to thank them for working with staff, and I want to thank staff for all the hard work that they've done leading up to this point. It wasn't an easy road, and we've gone through extensive outreach throughout the last 20 years. We will continue to accept input from the community, But I'd like to make a motion to move this item forward once council has made their comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Hamid. Councilmember Ortiz, you have any further comments?
No further comments.
Councilmember Miller, you have comments?
Yes. Thank you, Member Pro Tem. You know, I don't think people really understand and do the benefits. When we signed this extension and agreement, I was the mayor at that time. And it wasn't really about just the money, because it doesn't just benefit the city of Indio. And I think Councilmember Mead said it right. You know, we could have never asked for some of this kind of publicity, some of this international recognition. We're the city of festivals. That's what we pride ourselves on. That's how we even did our own zoning change for this. But it's not the city of just Indio. It's the whole Coachella Valley, the state of California, that brings money into it. You got to think, everybody that lives in Indio does not work in Indio. They work in Indian Wells. They work in Palm Springs. And as this whole valley swells up with individuals that come here, just not to go to the festivals, they bring their families, they want to sit at pools. They're spending thousands and thousands of dollars in our community, keeping our residents working, just not in Indio, but throughout the Coachella Valley and the state of California as we travel in. So it's an economic engine for just not the city of Indio, but everyone else. We have funding. Everything that is spent on for public safety, for roads, anything that has to do, that is expenses covered by Golden Voice. Not $1 comes out of the city of Indio's pocket. So we benefit from the money that comes in here from the ticket sales, but we can't measure the other international opportunities that we get from this. If we haven't captured on more from Golden Voice, it's because we haven't pushed it out there to expand the city of festivals, and that's on us. And we've got to figure out how to do that. But this is a great opportunity to lock down not only a business owner who has international fame throughout. This is not the only place they have concerts throughout the world. This is an opportunity to partner with them to get better for the city of Indio, guarantee another 20 years of opportunity to make sure tax revenue comes in. We're the city of festivals, and give us an opportunity to better ourselves. And if there are opportunities for our residents to come up with businesses that can correlate with this at the same time, I'm sure that we can find ways to do it. So I think it's a great opportunity to extend this development agreement. But at the same time, I think it's good for the city of Indio to recognize the benefits that we have. Sam brought up Councilmember Torres when he was a council member with me. He brought up very good ideas and thoughts. But when you start talking about things that aren't happening in this city, that falls on the city council. They forget about all the roads we've developed. The bridge on Jefferson that we paid multiple dollars for. Right now, we're in the middle of looking at processes on 50th, and those other areas were made not to have that much traffic on. They were made as country estate roads, and we've changed it and developed and invested in ourselves. We didn't invest in the Polo Grounds. We didn't invest in Golden Voice. We invested in the city and residents of Indio because of traffic. We wanted to open up those ways so that we could take the traffic through there. So now we don't have as many traffic opportunities. Before, people complained about the traffic. Now we put in the investment so that the people that live out there and opportunities to get people off the street into the Polo Ground areas so that they're there, so that it doesn't interfere with their day-to-day operations of our residents and their quality of life. I think most residents, if you would hear what they're saying about the community and the concerts as a whole, they're proud to have this in our community. And I think that's one thing that we need to extend. And not only that, the public art that comes with that for our communities. It's not the Coachella Valley Music Festival, it's the Coachella Valley Music and Art Festival. And they spend millions of dollars investing in art that has been put up through our community from one side of the valley to the next, and it's going to continue on. So great opportunities to look at this, and that Mr. Torres brought up. We will look at what we can do on 50th. We are looking at, we're paving Los Coyotes Road, which is up on 38 that the county gave us. We are looking to expand Jefferson all the way up to Talavera. It'll get done. It'll get done with the work of all our community. This has nothing to do with the rest of the stuff. This has to do with a 20-year extension to make sure we can lock down Golden Voice in here so we have an opportunity to be the city of festivals for the next 20 years. So my comments, I will second Lupe Ramos Hamid if she wants to follow through, and that's my comments. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Miller. I'll close it out by just reiterating some of the points that were already made. We made a commitment in our city that we're the city of festivals. Well, with that, there comes a lot of logistics, a lot of planning, a lot of opportunities that we have to move forward with. And this moving forward will really cement Golden Voice, Empire Polo, El Dorado, and the surrounding communities as being an area where we could have our festivals. I'm looking forward to adding more festivals. I'm looking forward to having an events coordinator in our city where we could do things like this year round. You know why? Because it benefits our community, it benefits the Coachella Valley, and it benefits our region. But it also benefits the folks out on 50th, 38th, Jefferson, because it gives us those funds that we can come in and work on infrastructure. We could do those projects. This is what we do. And so I want to thank Golden Voice. I want to thank staff for moving this forward. I want to thank Empire Polo for the partnerships. These are private properties, and we've been working together to cement these in our community. And with that, there's already a motion and a second on the table, so we'll take a vote.
And
I'll make I'll make the full motion to waive full reading of ordinance number 1764, approving the Second Amendment to the development agreement between the City of Indio and Golden Voice LLC and Coachella Music Festival LLC. Introduce the ordinance by title only and request the city clerk read the title of the ordinance. Waive full reading of ordinance number 1765, amending subsections 159.463, 159.466, and 159.469 of the Indio Municipal Code. Introduce the ordinance by title only and request the city clerk read the title of the ordinance and adopt resolution number 10231, approving an amendment to the major music festival permit.
I'll second that motion.
We had a motion by Councilmember Hamid and a second by Councilmember Miller. Can we get a vote, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Hamid,
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Nay.
and Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Aye.
And then I'd like to read the ordinance for the record. An ordinance of the City of Indio approving the Second Amendment to the development agreement between the City of Indio and Golden Voice LLC and Coachella Music Festival LLC to extend the term of the development agreement to 2050, and ordinance 1765 to read. Give me 1 minute. Ordinance 1765, an ordinance of the City of Indio amending section 159.463 definitions, section 159.466 major music festival permit required, and section 159.1469 decision of the major music festival overlay zone and amending the Indio Municipal Code. Thank you.
Thank you. Item passes. And we could call back the mayor.
Great. I just let her know. If somebody from staff can actually go get her, if you don't mind.
We do have one item left, and that's consent calendar.
Great.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Appreciate your taking that spot for me. Okay, your time will coming up.
December.
That's absolutely a few more months. All right, everyone, I'd like to move on to the consent calendar. Item number 10, please. City Attorney?
Yes. Prior to taking a motion on the consent calendar, I wanted to provide a oral report on, I'm sorry, I should have had this prepared, on item number K, the management, actually the management confidential unrepresented employee compensation benefit plan, and a resolution number 10232 related to the salaries and benefits in terms of condition of employment. Under the government code, a provision of the government code requires an oral report prior to taking final action on the salary schedules or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of a local agency executive. Typically, a local agency executive refers to the city manager, but in this context, the provision also includes persons that are heads of a department of a local agency. And in this case, with the resolution 10232, department heads are included within the at-will employee group and are covered. And therefore, this oral report is required with respect to the salary schedules and benefits. With respect to the salary schedule, the salary schedule is attached in Exhibit A, and there's different ranges. And as stated in the report, the effective salary schedule as of 8/18/21 is, and I'll list the ranges here in the minimum and maximum. For range 360, and within that range, we have the chief of police and the assistant city manager. The minimum is $11,238, and these are monthly 40 cents, to the maximum is $16,604.23. In range 346, the minimum is $10,469.07. The max is $15,467.59. And within that range, we have the deputy city manager, the director of community development, the director of public works, the general manager of the Indio Water Authority, and the director of economic development, and also the director of human resources and risk management. The next range is 323. The minimum and maximum is $9,334.45, and that's the minimum. The max is $13,791.24. That's Director of Information Technology. And range 291, Director of Communications and Marketing, $8,117.81, $11,993.70. Beginning in July 2nd, 2022, as indicated in the report, there's a 2% COLA. The ranges for grade 360 will change from $11,463 to $17 to the max $16,936.31. For those employees in range 346, its minimum is $10,678.45, the maximum $15,776.94. For the employee in range 323, $9,521.14 to the max $14,067.06. And for the employee in range 291, it's $8,280.17 to $12,223.57. And beginning in July 1st, 2023, there is a 5% increase to the salary range. So the salary range in 360 is $12,036.33. The max is $17,783.13. In range 346, $11,212.37 to $16,565.79. In range 323, $9,997.20 to $14,770.41. And employee in range 291 is $8,694.18, $12,845.25. And also within that range for employee that is a sworn police officer, there is a 5% or 10% increase dependent on the what's called a post certificate, which is Peace Officer Standards Training Certificate. That range actually was the 5%, 10% was actually previously approved by the council in 2019, but we are carrying it over here. There's also a $9,000 one-time payment in terms of, in recognition of the work done by staff as essential workers during the pandemic. This utilizes the ARPA funding, 80 hours administrative leave with a carryover of 32 hours. However, no time can be converted to cash. The sellback period for vacation, this is typical of public agencies. It helps the public agency to reduce that liability on their books. And so those in the at-will group that are directors have the ability to sell back 160 hours at 2 points in the calendar year, up to 80 hours in the first half and up to 80 hours in the second half. The allows for a car allowance up to $500. This is, however, in the discretion of the city manager, depending on one's job duties and other criteria. The vacation schedule is included in the resolution, and the sick pay is the same as the management confidential and unrepresented unit. And that is the summary. I apologize, it's very long, for the compensation and benefits. There are 2 revisions to the resolution, and would ask that if the council is so inclined to approve this item, that it be approved with these changes. The first is in section J9B on page 6 of the resolution. It should read certificate pay for executive or management peace officer standards and training, not advanced and management. So I 2 word changes. And the second is to authorize the city attorney to include in Exhibit C to the resolution a release in the form approved by the city attorney and city manager. The item can be left on the consent calendar if you so choose. And whenever somebody makes a motion, it could be approved with the changes noted by the city attorney. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, City Attorney, for providing that information and transparency to our city. Given that, I have the consent calendar. Does anybody wish to pull anything, or do I hear a motion?
I've got a question.
Yes,
If I could.
please.
Kevin, if you could, on item Q, I see that we have the fiber optic. And one of the things I always wanted is when you put an RFP is how many people actually responded, what the highs were and what the lows were. I've always asked for that. I see this isn't, did I miss it? Or because I like people to see how many people actually did it and where the range is. Because, you know, when you're starting to do some of these, just not in yours, in public works, you'll see some are at 1.2 million and some are at 2.7, and people want to know why you picked the one and yours is the most responsive. How many people do we have estimate to bid on that project? And it says most responsive. So I take it they weren't low.
So, Councilmember, I apologize. I believe we had put in there, we had a total of 4 respondent firms. Excuse me, 4 respondent firms. This RFP was issued prior to the onslaught of the pandemic, at which time it was put on hold. And as detailed in the staff report, it was refunded by the city council on your most recent budget action for the current fiscal year. So we did contact 3 of the respondent firms that were the highest ranked firms.
Okay.
And we did interview them. The Director of Information Technology and myself did interview them. I should, I believe it was related in the staff report as well. We did go through a comprehensive scoring process in the initial review. We had a scoring committee made up of representatives from community development, public works, Indio Water Authority, police, and the city manager's office. And we did go through and score. And again, the 3 firms that were highest scoring, we did do oral interviews, 1, to confirm that they were still interested, 2, to make sure that the scope of work that we had detailed in the RFP was still achievable at the allotted budget, the council, which was $125,000, and 3, to confirm that they, understanding the availability of potential federal and state dollars around broadband and fiber optics, that they had the ability to complete the work in a timely manner to support the city's goal and potentially applying for some of that funding. And so all 3 firms were interviewed around those questions. And based on those interviews, the Director of Information Technology and myself made a recommendation in the form of the staff report for Magellan Advisors LLC.
Perfect. Answer my question. Thank you for the very detailed.
Thank you. Are there any
Mayor?
other questions? Yes.
I need to recuse on item E, the second reading.
Right. Correct. Ventana, right?
Yep.
I have that
And as
noted.
long as that stays on the consent calendar, then the city clerk will note the recusal and Councilmember May can vote on the remaining consent calendar.
Okay, anybody else have any comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I can make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the approved adjustments to the, what item was it?
It was
And
to
G?
resolution resolution number 10232, and with the changes as noted by the city attorney.
Yes, that sounds great.
And I'll second that with the also the abstention on E from Councilmember Mead.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you very much. I have a motion and a second. City Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit,
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman.
Aye.
And Mayor Holmes.
Aye. Thank you very, very much. Motion passes unanimously. I'm adjourning this meeting at 8:25. The next council meeting is August 30th, 2021 at 3 p.m. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good job.
21.